There we go. Hello, everyone. Tomer is only as late as he was scheduled to be. This is correct. Is it live? There we go. Oh, there it is. Okay. I had to refresh. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, one and all. This is actually the first stream in a while where I'm actually not talking to anybody in Discord, so I am going to go a little bit crazy in the head. But yes, sorry I am 2 minutes late, chat. I am so sorry. I'm actually not sorry. I had to get a cup of joe. I had to do some recordings that went a little bit late today because my building was doing its annual fire alarm checkup. So not only did they have to check up my condo, but they had to check out everybody else's condos' fire alarms in the building. And every single time they checked any person's fire alarm, I could hear it. It was coming out of my speakers too, which made the recording process and just working in general today a tremendous treat. Very unexpected and unwelcome. So that's my complaint for today. Yeah, so here we are, 2 minutes late, now 3 minutes late for me just complaining about me being late. But yeah, hello everyone. Welcome. Oh, I have to do my tweets and everything. So let me get that done real quick before we all settle in. So let's tweet it out. And now let's broadcast it to the MTG Goldfish website, because that's all good too. What are we calling it? Tier list. Kaldheim tier list stream. Or ranking the commanders. Ranking the commanders Kaldheim stream. And then we get to choose Adriano's lovely artwork. It's honestly my favorite thing about like the stream or any work that I do is I get to have Adriano draw whatever I want. And honestly, like that is so freaking cool. And if you haven't seen Adriano's work, like his own personal work, highly recommend it. I'll actually find a link to that really quick. So I'll broadcast this to the MTG Goldfish. We posted on Twitter. Let me quickly find the link for Adriano. His portfolio. Just gonna link it. No reason. Just I'm really a big fan. Yeah. So Nyetic has Adriano's Twitter, and this is his portfolio. He does really good stuff. So if you like any of MTG Goldfish's thumbnails, he does all of them. Yeah, I really like his stuff. It's colorful and nice. But yeah, so today is more chill, more like more chat focused, I would say, as it's just me and you all. No other people in voice chat, just me chatting with you, and we're gonna be ranking the Kaldheim commanders, and I'm going to put them in a tier list from S all the way down to D. And it's entirely arbitrary. It's entirely personal preference. It's obviously going to be different for every single person. This is not like a objective power ranking or anything like that. I'm not trying to say this card is objectively more powerful and going to have a higher win percentage than this other card. That's not what's happening here. It just cards. What I think about these cards, am I personally stoked to be playing these cards? How stoked am I? And I'm going to put them from S down to D. And that's basically it. So, yeah. Hello, Nyetic. Hello, Joey. Yes, I am late, Chaotic. Sorry, Isaac. Hello, Christoph. Hello, Magical Hacker. Abandoned stream. Hello. Pro streamer. Yep, that is me. Hey, Commander Mechanic. Hot takes. Oh, yeah, there's going to be hot takes here. I'm going to be putting stuff that people like very low on the list and putting stuff people don't like very high on the list, I assume. Hey, Afro Magic. Hello, everyone. Tergrid for Tomer D tier. Tergrid for Joey S tier. Why isn't there an F? I don't think any card's a failure in the set, or else there would be an F tier. But there's definitely a D. D would be something I would not want to play more than once. S tier for squirrels. Yeah. Oh, we got our Tomer time. Yep. This is what we're doing today. As everybody is in the pre-release drafting and all that stuff, there's just me playing with a tier list. So thank you for joining on that one. Hey, Moon Torment, how's it going? All right, so we're going to start with the tier list. The only annoying thing is that these many of the gods, or I guess all of the gods, are actually modal dual-faced cards, which means I can't actually show you the back of it. I have to go to Scryfall to show you those, which will be a little bit awkward. But let's kick it off with some of the non-modal dual-faced cards. And I'm going to just start off with Varagoth, Bloodsky, Sire. So, Varagoth, is he a commander? Is he a person that is this a card that I would want to put in my command zone? And my answer is probably not. I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff about Varagoth, but it's more of the 99. I like that it's a rogue. So my first thought of it was like, oh my goodness, this card is actually really good for like Anawan, the Ruin Thief? I forget which one it is. The Mere Anawan, which is Rogue Tribal. If you can give Varagoth evasion, then it can safely attack and use its boast ability without even having to trade or die. Because it's a 2/3, it's going to trade pretty easily. Death Touch means that if your opponents have like something really good on the battlefield that they don't want to trade, then they're less likely to block. But I mean, if they have something that they don't really care about, they'll block, and then Varagoth dies, and you'll be sad. But its ability is really powerful. It's a vampiric tutor effect. They can do basically every single time you attack with it. So repeatable, really nice. Is it something that I want as my commander? Not so much. I would love to put it in Rogue Tribal. I'd love to put it in Demon Tribal. I'd like to put it in basically anything that encourages attacking and giving Varagoth evasion. Those are the two requirements of a deck that I'm looking for to run Varagoth in. Something that attacks, and something that gives it evasion so it doesn't die. So I really like a lot about this card. I think it's well costed. It's an interesting card from a build-around perspective. It's not too powerful, but it has a very powerful effect that you have to work for. So I'm going to put it as a solid B. This is a solid B card for me. I definitely want to play it. I'm not going to jam it in all black decks. I'm not going to put it as my commander. But you know what? It's a solid B, B+, possibly even an A. You know what? I'll put it in as an A just because I like it. I think it's neat. So we'll start with that. Wait, are we ranking as purely commander or just quality in the format? It's totally arbitrary. It's totally arbitrary here, folks. I just chose to rank the legendary creatures because I want to cut down the number of cards that I have to go through. We still have 33 cards, so we're going to be here for a while, especially how slow I am with doing all of this stuff. So I just wanted to do it a little bit. I wanted to make the selection a little bit slower, but I'm going to discuss both these cards as a commander or part of the 99. Everything's been made up and the points don't matter. Absolutely. Whose line is it anyway rules, for sure. Won't lie, I'd like it as commander to tutor every draw from my deck. I mean, it's still very powerful. I just personally find Varagoth a little bit more interesting to me personally as a 99. That's why I put it as a solid A. All right, we're gonna skip over the gods for now, just because it's a little bit clunkier for me to showcase both sides of them right now. And we're just gonna move on to the other one. So let's go for Arnie Broken Bow. This is 3 mana, 3/3, red creature, human berserker, haste. Also has a boast ability. You may change Arnie Broken Bow's base power to 1, plus the greatest power among other creatures you control until end of turn. Not really interesting to me. Arnie doesn't really draw cards. It doesn't tutor. It doesn't do anything. It just deals damage, and you basically have to have another creature on the battlefield that has a really high power for whatever reason. There might be some cool things to do here, but I don't see any of it. I like the artwork a lot. I think it's really cool that this berserker has a horn, like the leftover of a horn sticking out, and like it kind of matches the flavor. Like I headbutted a troll and won. You probably headbutted its like tusk or something, or it's like it had a horn on its head, and that's why it's stuck there, I guess. But yeah, that's a D tier for me. That's it just does damage. It's just a beater. I don't really care. Hey Angel, thanks. Yeah, he does look good. He is kind of yawn though, yeah. Are the commanders from the precons on this list? No. Thank you for the reminder. I'll go over them last if I remember. / as long as it's not like 3 hours from now. Broken Brow. Yeah, he headbutted a troll, 5th tooth still on his head. It's canon. That makes sense. Yeah. Broken Brow, headbutted a troll or whatever. Yeah, makes sense. The troll's tusk. We got the Arnie story. All right, sweet. I like the art. I would give it a D plus just because the artwork is good. It gets a plus because of that. All right. Now we got something that I'm actually really excited for. This one is Magda Brazen Outlaw. I've actually done a full video on Magda when she was previewed, but like the spark notes of that, I guess, is that this is a very, very efficient engine for not only dwarf tribal decks, but more importantly for me, which I'm hyped for, is for tribal. So it's a dwarf lord for just 2 mana. And it says other dwarves you control get +1/+0. And whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. And then you can sacrifice 5 treasures to search your library for an artifact or dragon card. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So it's very powerful with dwarves for a lot of reasons. So first of all, giving other dwarves you control +1/+0 is actually way better than it initially looks like. It's not just for a little bit of extra damage, but dwarves have a sub-theme of vehicles. Vehicles require piloting, and piloting is based on the power of the creature. So if it has like a crew requirement of 3, you need a 3 power creature on the battlefield to tap in, or total power of 3 to actually pilot the vehicle, crew the vehicle. So Magda makes those requirements a lot easier with that +1/+0. And then whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. This is ramp in red, and very efficient ramp in red, just whenever they become tapped. So they either become tapped usually by attacking or by piloting, accruing a vehicle. Both really work, so the synergy there is really good. Treasures are just like awesome too. Not only are they ramp sources, but like they're also artifacts. So if you have something like Goblin Welder, where you can sacrifice an artifact to return an artifact from the graveyard back to the battlefield, treasures are super versatile in that way. Treasures also like fuel like Metalcraft 2. So if you have like a thing like Metalcraft that says like you need like 3 or more artifacts on the battlefield for it to function, then treasures count to that. It's just really good. And then sacrificing 5 treasures to immediately find any artifact or dragon card and put it directly onto the battlefield. It doesn't matter the converted mana cost of it. It could be like a 12 mana artifact. It could be like a Dark Steel, Dark Steel Forge or something, give all your artifacts indestructible. Something huge. It could be a Blightsteel Colossus. It could be whatever. It's kind of insane. I don't really know if I'm interested in running her as a commander, but she is like the best in the 99 of the Pala. She's going to be amazing in my tribal deck. I think she's also really good as a commander too. I just feel like there's less options in mono red dwarf tribal. So all the decks are probably going to look very similar to each other. Kind of feels like a combo-ish style deck. There are combos involved with her, like with her and aggressive assault and whatever. But as a 99, she's going to be like insane, and she's also going to be good as a commander. But yeah, this is going to be my my first S tier, folks. This I'm super hyped for Magda. She is going to be absolutely insane. Crew with looter scooter for ramp and draw. Yeah, you can tell from some reason best. Hi, it's going to be yeah. I mean there's no going to be some huge twists over here. I'm going to be like I love her so much that she's going to go right beside Arnie. Hello, Coco 2. I just messed that one up. Hello, K. Morning. Yeah. Pretty sure Magda is going to be kill on sight. Probably. Most of the if a commander is really good, really sweet, it's probably also kill on sight, or else it's probably not that good and sweet, you know? When you say you're hyped for Magda, are you going to build her or just love her in general? I'm going to build her in the 99 of decks. So I'm going to put her in the Pala, and I'm going to put her in my tribal deck. Am I going to build a deck around Magda herself in the command zone? Maybe. It really depends. I don't know. If it's really budget friendly, then maybe. All right, we're going to be moving on to an uncommon, which is Finn the Finn? Fine? I don't know. I'm going to call him Finn. Looks like a Finn to me. The Fangbearer. And this is the only card that cares about poison counters in Kaldheim. But it's very powerful. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. There hasn't been a lot of poison tribal support, I would say, but there has been like little breadcrumbs in the last like year or two where we get like one good like poison tribal lord showing up. So it's kind of becoming more and more of a thing, and I really like that. It's like kind of becoming a thing, and we'll see where it actually ends up being. So Finn is definitely like probably the most powerful of the bunch. In terms of like poison lords, I can't remember the other names of it. There's like a snake, a black snake, I think from Corset 2021 that also dealt with poison tribal in a way. Yeah, the only other card that cares about poison in Kaldheim is Vorinclex. That's correct. Because if you would put one or more counters on a permanent or a player, put twice that many. So if Vorinclex was on the battlefield, they get 4 poison counters instead of just 2. Hooded Blightfang. Yeah, that's the one. Hey, Ancalasaur. I'll show you Hooded Blightfang real fast. Here it is. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch attack, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. There's also like a Vraska, I think. Where are you? For more of the Spark Vraska. Here she is. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a player or Planeswalker, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So there's like some breadcrumbs for Death Touch Tribal. It's not really a fully fleshed out thing, but you know, it's getting there, and I like it. I like fleshing out new archetype spaces. That's cool to me. Tomer's East Coast time. Yeah, that is true. It is 6:20 p.m. for me here. I made a Snakes on a Plane deck with him in CZ. What is CZ? Oh, thank you, Dr. Cataclysm. Thank you for the tip. Varagoth has me excited for Mono Black Group Hug. Oh, that is sick. So you're going to build Varagoth with the intention of actually letting other people tutor with it. So that's an interesting way to ingratiate yourself. Ingratiate yourself with other players. And you could probably also attack unblocked too, right? You could say like, hey, opponent, I'm going to smack you with Varagoth, and as long as you don't kill it, I'll let you tutor something up with it. So that'd be pretty sick. CZ, Command Zone. Oh, very sick. Oh, okay. I made a Snake Sound playing deck with him in the Command Zone. That would be sick. I'd like to see that. Double Strike is very cool on the guy. Yes, for sure. Death Touch Commander, Poison Counters, Uncommon. Sign me up. Yep. Don't know if you could have Finn as your commander. You really do seem to need black. I think so. I think if you're going for Death Touch Tribal, there's not a lot of support for Death Touch Tribal right now. But black is usually primary for Death Touch cards, and like black Golgari colors is definitely like the color combination you want to be in for making Death Touch work. But I do think Finn is going to be fantastic in those decks. And also just keep in mind, Finn is a green creature, and green is fantastic in finding ways to tutor up creatures. It is the best color at tutoring up creatures. You have stuff like Fauna Shaman, and if you have infinite money, Survival of the Fittest, Green Sun Zenith, Finale of Devastation, Court of Calling. If you have more budget, if you're more budget conscious, then stuff like Shared Summons is very good still. Gerard's Orders is also very budget friendly. Also, black in general, if you're just in Golgari, black has a lot of just like basic ways of finding any card. So if you're in Golgari, it's very easy to find Finn. Once you have a battlefield of Death Touch creatures, you just find Finn, and then boom, you're starting to hit people with poison counters. And yeah, it's very good with stuff like Vorinclex. It's very good with proliferate abilities like Evolution Sage. I think it's kind of difficult. Like I'm saying all these cards, and yeah. I probably have to like show them on the screen at the same time, or else it's probably very confusing. But like proliferate cards, whenever you play a land on the whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. Choose any number of permanents and/or players, then give each another counter of each kind already there. So if you give them a poison counter, you can proliferate with Evolution Stage and give them more poison counters and stuff like that. Yeah, this is the first time I'm doing this, folks, so it's gonna be a little bit messy, but I think that'll be fine. One drop green Death Touchers are a thing too. Yep. Yeah, I think Hapatra would be very sick as a commander for a Death Touch Tribal. Because her -1/-1 ability does synergize really well because it generates a bunch of green snake tokens with Death Touch. So there is some stuff you can do there. Tooth and nail money, no problem. Yep. Green is the color of money. Green is the color of winning, I guess. You're doing great, Homer. Thank you. I'm going to turn off my AC real quick. One sec. Boop. All right. We're back. Tomer, is there any chance to get some stream at a European-friendly time? Maybe. The problem is that so for me, like European friendly time, I know like UK is like 5 hours ahead of me. Is that the right term? Like yeah, 5 hours ahead of like Eastern time, right? And then if you go like further, like it would be like 6 hours like for other parts of Europe and whatnot. The problem is that if like let's say I'm streaming at like 5 p.m. I think is GMT for UK time, then I would have to stream at 12 at noon my time. And noon my time I'm like either in a meeting, doing a Commander Clash recording, or just doing journal work. So I don't know. I guess I could do it theoretically. But it would be a little bit harder. But maybe that could be a thing. I did make a poll in the community tab on YouTube on when people want to see me streaming, and the vast majority actually said they would prefer that I would start an hour later. So instead of 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is the regular stream time, I think it was like a good 40% of people actually said they'd want it at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which, I mean, I could also do, but it would be pretty late for me. Like, I'd end the stream regularly around 10 p.m. and then hurry off to bed. And I don't know. I like having after stream, I like having a good hour to myself where I can kind of wind down and then go to bed. But yeah, I'm willing to play around with the starting time at least sometimes. Maybe if I do a weekend stream or something, I could do it at noon. Yeah, 7 p.m. is better for people on the West Coast. Yeah, Pacific PST time, it makes a lot of sense for those folks. And I guess most people are watching from the West Coast, right? It is midnight in Germany. Well, I mean, I appreciate you stopping by, Simon. I really do. So I'll see if maybe I can mix it up every once in a while. It's winter in Canada. He's hot. It is too hot. I'm wearing I'm pretty well geared for winter time. I mean, it's not my first rodeo, So yeah, I think when I complain it's too hot, it's usually I don't even know what the temperature would be what would it be in Fahrenheit, but anything above 20 degrees, if I'd start getting a little bit sweaty, I guess. I don't know. I like 20 degrees Celsius is really nice. 20 to 24 degrees Celsius is really nice. That's my comfort zone. But once we get a little bit higher than that, it kind of sucks. Green can also fight. Yep. Hey, Tomer, is the next Commander Clash have Kaldheim in it? Yes, Christoph. We're actually on a break for Commander Clash, so you're not going to see anything go up this week, but we're going to be starting the next season with Kaldheim stuff. So Kaldheim officially releases, I think, tomorrow, the 28th. It's going to be released on Magic Online tomorrow on the 28th. But the problem is that as soon as cards release on Magic Online, they still take a while to actually show up in terms of availability. We get our cards mostly through Card Hoarder, which is our sponsor. But they only allow us to borrow cards a week or two after release, when they have a decent amount stocked that they can just let us borrow cards without actually cutting into their sales a lot. So we have to buy the cards, but 1 or 2 days after the deck, a new set is released, there's just not a lot of supply yet for the bots to actually have stock, and it's kind of difficult to get a hold of those cards. So we're waiting a week. We're probably going to be doing our recording. We're doing our recording next week, when hopefully the cards will be available to us to get. We'll do our recordings, and then the week after that, we'll have the game up. Or I think maybe Commander Clash is going to go up next week. I'm not sure. Maybe Neotic knows. I don't know. 20 is 68 Fahrenheit. Yeah. So 68 Fahrenheit is about where I like to be. 18 to 20 degrees is best temperature. 30 is cool out. Yeah, I like hoodie weather. I don't know. It's nice for me. It will go up next week. I'll edit fast. Yep. Neotic, you're the best. So we're recording it Tuesday, so Neotic has Wednesday, Thursday, 2 days to get that done, which, I mean, he's a champ. I know that's not a schedule that I like, but he's doing it, so thank you. All right, we're gonna look at how many legends have we graded so far? 3. It's been half an hour. This is why I didn't do all of them, chat. This is why we're only doing 33. Imagine I was ranking all the cards from Kaldheim. How dare I? Patrick, you didn't miss much. Just me rambling. That's all the stream is, just me rambling. Hey, Megablin, how's it going? Is it going to be monocolor for the first game? It'll be the gods. So first week, we're going to be doing the gods of Kaldheim. And I'll tell you right now, Krim was making noises, implying that he really wanted to grab Tergrid. He really wanted to show off Tergrid, in the Gods episode. Obviously, because it is the most crim card of all the gods. I guess you could make an argument for Valky too is pretty troll, but Tergrid is like obviously the biggest troll card, stealing everybody's permanents and making everybody miserable. Very good with wheel effects too. So what I did, I was like, you know what, Crim, I'm going to steal Tergrid from you. I'm going to play Tergrid. He got to choose the next week one. He had first dibs. He tried to get first dibs on basically both weeks, as he usually does. But I was like, you know what? No. I'm going to play Tergrid, because at the very least, like, people want to see Tergrid. People want to see Tergrid actually played. Like, love her or hate her, I think she's a very salty commander. But love her or hate her, people want to see Tergrid actually in action. At the very least, so they can live vicariously through it, and not have to actually play against it. But yeah, so I stole her, and at the very least, like, I expect to get hated out, but at the very least, like, if Krim wants to see Tergrid in action, hopefully he might be a little bit more empathetic once he's on the receiving end. All right, we're gonna move on. I'm gonna rate. So Finn. I really like Finn. I don't think it's a commander that is going to be great, because mono green Death Touch Tribal is going to be kind of difficult to pull off, and you don't have a lot of support cards. I think it's a lot better in the 99th though. But I really like the design. I think this is a really cool design space, and I hope the Wizards of the Coast continues to support Death Touch Tribal in Golgari, and they've been throwing some breadcrumbs every once in a while, and yeah, I think if they just keep doing that, like every set, just throw one more Golgari style Death Touch Tribal card, eventually you'll have something really sweet going on. And that's where Finn is going to be. But Koll is going to be played by Richard. I don't know what Koll is. I fear you will make a deck too good and warp the game around it. Probably. Like Tergrid. All right, I'll just rank Tergrid here. So Tergrid, I did an entire video on, right? Let's ignore her artifact side. Or you know what? Fine. We'll actually look at her through Scryfall, because then we can actually look at both sides. So the first side is Tergrid, God of Fright, which is the incredibly powerful trolly part of the card. It's whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So that means if you make your opponents discard a bunch of cards from their hand, if they discard any permanents this way, they immediately go onto the battlefield. So I make you discard a land from your hand. That hand goes to the graveyard, and then I can put it immediately onto the battlefield. So it's kind of like mono black ramp in a way. Or if I just make you sacrifice non-token permanents, like I play Fleshbag Marauder, force you to sacrifice a creature. Yoink! I just yoink that creature. I yoink that creature from that graveyard onto the battlefield, so I get into the battlefield triggers, and plus I just have now a creature on the battlefield. Could be something huge. Could be great. So the card is incredible. The ability is very powerful. Very much well worth the 5-mana investment. It's really good with wheel effects. There's not a lot of wheel effects in mono black, but there's at least like one. I think it's Dark Deal. I think it's called Dark Deal. Yeah. Each player discards all cards in their hand. I think, yeah, in their hand. It's Salarada. In their hand, then draws that many -1. So everybody wheels, everybody discards their entire hand, possibly full of permanents. You wreck their hand, and you get all of that in your hand. And then even worse, like this is baby's first Tergrid, right? This is where things get really, really nasty. You play cards like Pox. Each player loses a third of their life, then discards a third of the cards in their hand, then sacrifices a third of the creatures they control, then sacrifices a third of the lands they control. Round up each time. So even if they hold every single permanent card in their hand, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they might even have to discard some permanents from their hand if they have a bunch of permanents in their hand, and they just can't help it. But, I mean, they lose a third of their creatures. You get a third of those creatures. They sacrifice a third of their lands. You get those lands. Like, it's absolutely insane. This is a 3-mana sorcery. Just, like, imagine. You play Tergrid, you cast Dark Ritual, and then you cast Pox. And, like, I don't know. You'll get, like, 6 lands out of it. Or, I don't know, maybe 9 lands out of that. Maybe you get, like, 3 creatures. Maybe somebody discards a permanent too, and you grab that as well. It's absolutely, it's bonkers. It's so strong. And then on the other side, it has an infinite combo finisher outlet. You can tap it to have target player loses 3 life unless they discard unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. And you can pay an additional 4 mana to untap Tergrid's Lantern, so you can do it multiple times per turn if you have enough mana. Let's say you generate infinite mana in black. You can just play Tergrid as Tergrid's Lantern and just basically just kill people. Like, you'll dump all that infinite mana into untapping Tergrid's Lantern, so you have infinite tap triggers. And that's kind of disgusting. So Tergrid's, like, insanely powerful, kill on sight by far, and I know a lot of people are very excited for her, and a lot of people are very disgusted by her, and I think both are very valid. Her ability is incredibly powerful. I won't say it's entirely unique, because we have seen variations of this type of card before. Like, I think we've seen, like, Grave Betrayal. It's whenever a creature you don't control dies, you return it on the battlefield on your side. Very expensive enchantment, 7 mana. Doesn't see that much play. But this is 5 mana, and it's more limited. It's more restricted because it's only sacrifice, not dying. But it also affects people's hands as well, and affects any type of permanent. This card is kind of insane. It Betrays, yeah. It that Betrays has another one. So yeah, she is. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. I guess it's literally the exact same thing. Yeah, it is non-token permanent. Yeah. So yeah, very powerful ability. Yeah, this is a 12 mana. This is a 12 mana creature, by the way, that has this ability. 12 mana creature. Tergrid is a 5 mana creature. There is quite the difference here. And Tergrid can be in the command zone. Yeah, Tergrid's absolutely insane. So this is a very high power commander, very flashy ability. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be interested in playing with her, and a lot of people are going to be just scared of playing against her. So that is just kind of how it is. I will say, though, if you are interested in playing Tergrid, first of all, double check with your play group that they're going to be okay with running against Tergrid, because it is a high salt card. And also, you need to be okay with the fact that your opponents will probably try to not only kill Tergrid, but probably eliminate you first. So just keep that in mind. Like, I think in a lot of playgroups where you set up the expectation that you're going to be the arch enemy, and you do so in a good manners way, like you don't feel offended or you don't get salty when you're getting eliminated by playing a trolly card. I think Crim's a good example of this. Crim plays like very troll commander decks, but people don't really like. But he takes it really well when people hate him out. In fact, like that's kind of part of the charm of him running archenemy decks is he's a very gracious archenemy, I would say. What's the word? Gracious, not gracious loser, but like gracious when he's being hated out, right? And I think that's an important thing to have. Like, this is an archenemy commander, this is an archenemy card. It's going to induce salt and it's going to get you hated out. And that's fine as long as you and your play group are okay with that sort of style of play. And I'm a little bit worried that I think like some people are going to run in, like play Tergrid and not have that right mindset, maybe get offended when Tergrid's being hated out, and that's going to just be a feel bad at the table. But if you're doing it at the right mindset, yeah, totally user. If you're not a sore loser, if everybody's having fun with this ability around and like having an arch enemy dynamic at the table every once in a while, I think it's going to be definitely a blast to play, honestly. So Tergrid, very contentious commander. I hope people will use her power wisely, but this is definitely an S tier. I think at the very least, I personally would not want to build a Tergrid deck. I will play one for Commander Clash because I want to troll Crim. But for the sake of entertainment factor, I think Tergrid is an entertaining card in terms of she does something that will definitely warp games around her. She does something fairly unique that will change the dynamic of games when she enters the battlefield. So I think these are all cool things to have in Commander. She's also incredibly powerful. I'm a little bit worried that in some play groups, her contribution to the game is going to be overall negative, either because people don't want to play against a Tergrid deck and that person is insisting of playing Tergrid, or the person playing Tergrid is getting very salty or offended at being hated out. So that's my only worry about Tergrid, but I think overall she's a really, really interesting commander, and I think overall she can add a lot of entertainment to games. Long analysis of that one. Probably gonna trim it down for the other cards, but yeah, that's my lukewarm take. Tergrid's lucky we're in a webcam era where it's near impossible to pull her off on webcam. Yeah, also do not play her in webcam EDH, for the love of God. Stealing anything that involves stealing other people's permanents on webcam, if you have like one or two cards to do so, that's absolutely fine. You know, you get a post-it note, you use infinity tokens, whatever. Easy peasy, really simple to do. But if you have a deck that's entirely based on stealing your opponent's stuff or giving your stuff away, it gets messy on webcam. Leave that for the post-quarantine world where we can actually physically hand stuff off to other people's battlefields. Bum, bum, bum. Did you ever play 60-card formats? Yes. Before I played Commander, I was a content creator for Pauper, which is a 60-card format. So yeah. Dum, bum, bum. MTGO is better than webcam anyways. That is a hot take, Magical Hacker, and I will not wade into that one. I feel both have their pros and cons, and I will leave it at that because I do not want to be skewered in the comments section. Idea, Commander Clash kill on site week. Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. Tergrid versus Tiny Bones versus Vorinclex versus Brago. That could actually be interesting. A kill on site week where we just pick like very high salt commanders, but everybody's running high salt commanders. I will try to remember that. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Yeah, Joey, that's basically it. Is don't take people attacking you for running a high salt commander. Like as long as you have the right mindset for playing a salty commander, I think everybody can still have a ton of fun at the table. All right, we got another one. We got the Praetor, the Phyrexian Praetor that's doing all that lore rumblings on Kaldheim. Why did he get here? What is this setting up? Spoiler alert, is probably going to be a return to New Phyrexia soon. Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. This is a 6-mana green Phyrexian Praetor. Trample Haste in Mythic Rare green. I guess that's the norm now. Whatever. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. So this is basically what? Is it basically doubling season? I think that is like the same wording of doubling season. But then it also has the negative side. If an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, they would have that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. This card is really good. This card is really sweet. It feels like it's like a doubling season that... Oh, it does not double Tokens, right, Joey. Okay. So it's not a full-out doubling season. It's a functional doubling season for decks that only care about the counters part, not the tokens part. I guess that's what I want to say. Like it functionally does similar stuff for decks that don't make counters tokens as well. But I guess most decks that make counters also make tokens. Like I'm thinking like Super Friends. Super Friends still have Planeswalkers that make tokens, so it's not as good as doubling season there. But I mean, it's still quite good. It's the fact that it is a creature though. It's a 6/6 with trample and haste. That's pretty insane. If you put this in like say a Planeswalker deck, maybe it's not as good as doubling season because of the token part, but maybe it's actually better than it because you mostly care about like the counters part. And you don't really care about the tokens part as much. And who needs tokens on the battlefield when you have a 6/6 trample haste on the battlefield? Instead, it can block just fine, but it can, more importantly, it can immediately attack, take out other opposing planeswalkers. And that other part where you're just like hampering your opponents from putting counters themselves, very powerful, incidentally powerful probably. So yeah, I think it's a solid card. It's a really powerful card. Probably not going to be as feels bad as the original version. And the fact that it's a creature, again, green is the best color for tutoring creatures. I don't even know how it would showcase it, but let's see if I could do. Search library creature. Can we do it that way? No, it's not as good. But we can find some of them this way. Court of Calling is one staple. Defense of the Heart is an expensive staple. Eldritch Evolution, Fawn of Shame, and Fierce Empath, Finale of Devastation. All these ways can find Vorinclex when you need it. Green Sun Zenith is another way. I guess Magus' Order. This is a new one that I haven't played in a while. A Natural Order also works. A whole bunch of ways. Shared Summons. Yeah, green is really good at finding these when you need it. This is a really good card. Would I want it as my commander? Maybe. Again, this is kind of a recurring trend with a bunch of these commanders, is I actually prefer them, most of them, in the 99, not in the commands themselves. But I'm going to put ye old Vorinclex in probably the A tier, maybe an A+, maybe even an S. Really, really good in +1/+1 counter decks. Really good in perhaps infect decks, I would say. Planeswalker decks, anything that has to do with counters on it and not so much tokens. And in the 99, you can easily search it up. S- tier? Yeah. I don't know. That's where I would put it. I would put it there. Okay. Next up, we got Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Toski was another one. Keep trying to remove cookies from your screen. Where do I have cookies? Toski is another one that I did a full video on, talking about, how strong it is, what it's good for, what it's bad for. And there was like a minor controversy when it came out. People felt a little bit, people are a little bit like, just, what's the word? Irritated. People are irritated with green in general these days. So anytime green gets something good that is kind of like an exploration of its color pie, people are very like quick to jump on the fact that green shouldn't get it. And I think there's very much legitimate complaints with green. Green has been pushing its color pie a lot recently. Green has been dominant in like standard very recently. It's always been very good in commander. It's only been getting better in commander. And there's a lot of legitimate grievances that you can have with green in general. But people saying that Toski is like color pie break, nah. We've had plenty of cards. I think it's like Orin, Frostfang. We've had plenty of cards in the past that have done very similar things. Orin Frostfang, nobody complained about in 2019. What was there another? There was like another one that's like a kitty cat from Throne of Eldraine that does something kind of similar to. But creatures attacking, drawing cards through combat damage, primarily a blue thing, but green has been doing it in the past as well. Keeper of Fables, yeah, that's the one. So, it's not a color pie break. Maybe it's not primary in green, but you know, we've seen it before. It's not a big deal. It is a really good card though. Toski, Bearer of Secrets, can't be countered, indestructible. It's essentially can't be countered, indestructible coastal piracy, effect in green. It's also a creature, so it's much more easily tutored for this effect than, let's say, blue running coastal piracy. It's an enchantment. Blue's not really good at finding enchantments in its color. Blue's really can only just like tutor up like instant sorceries and artifacts, not so much enchantments. So Toski is a little bit better in that regard because green can actually find Toski when you need it. Also, Toski itself could theoretically draw cards. It's a 1/1, so it's very easy to just block. But if you manage to give it evasion or something, or you pumped up its stats, it can also be a coastal piracy that in itself is drawing you one or more cards each turn. So that's really, really strong. I think any deck that runs a lot of creatures and is about attacking and evasion will really want Toski. Do you want Toski as your commander, though? And I think that's a definite yes. I have at least one person who emails me regularly about playing Squirrel Tribal on Commander Clash. I don't know. It's been months since I'm beginning consistent emails about running Squirrel Tribal in Commander, and I've been very hesitant because I think previous versions just did not have card draw. Like, I looked at previous lists for viewer submitted. I'm like, this deck looks really sweet, but squirrels as a tribe is pretty janky. At least without silver border cards which we can't play on Commander Clash. So I kept saying like, give me a better version. Give me some card draw. Give me some tutoring of effects to offset the jankiness of Squirrel Tribal, and I'll give it a shot. Then Toski came out, and like boom, most of my concerns about Squirrel Tribal have now been fixed because Toski is a legendary squirrel, so it's perfect. It's on theme and everything, and it is card draw in the command zone. What more can you ask for? So yes, as soon as Kaldheim is fully released, this is the first card that I'm going to try to get out, is Toski, Bearer of Secrets, Squirrel Tribal. I will make that happen the first opportunity that I get. So for that, Toski, you go into the S tier. Toski, Squirrel Tribal seems like a fun deck. I'm going to give it a shot. It draws cards, so it offsets Squirrel Tribal. And then as part of the 99, it's just really good. Like, I can see it run in Edric. I could see it run in basically any green deck that has a bunch of evasive creatures, likes going wide and drawing a bunch of cards. It's good. It's good stuff. Silver border works on Cam, yeah, but our collections are really small, so you can run silver border and webcam, yeah. The problem is that my personal collection is very small, and I wouldn't be able to get access to all those decks on cheap, If somebody wanted to sponsor us and just give us free cards, then sure, we can make that more of a thing more often. But until then, Magic Online it is. Did we talk about Vorinclex doubling Infect? Yeah. It doesn't double Infect and +1/+1 counters and Planeswalkers. Those are good ones. All right. Next up, we got Aegar, the Freezing Flame, and this one I have a soft spot for. So it's an uncommon legendary creature, and I have noticed there's like a theme of the uncommons always pique my interest more than like a lot of the other rarities for some reason. So it's a 3-mana 3/3 giant wizard, so giant and wizard combined. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you controlled dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. So it's card draw for dealing excess damage to things, which I like. Giants have had support mostly in Boros before, and obviously wizards is primarily in blue, but also a secondary in red too. So there's a lot of like overlap, I guess you could have between the two, where you can run both giant support and wizard support. I don't know how many giant wizards there are. Maybe it's just like a new thing in Kaldheim. I'm actually going to double check right now. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to do giants and wizard. How many things are both giant and wizard? Okay, so they're all Kaldheim, or most of them are Kaldheim. There's Galecaster Colossus, which is not. How many of these are playable? I guess they're all playable. Whatever. It's giant wizards. You know, you're not gonna get too picky with them. Maybe let's see how many giants there are. Is just a giant. I'm more interested in the giant part because wizards. I mean, you don't need to be in Aegar to make a wizard tribal deck, and is it? I feel like giants is more of a unique thing going on. Let's do rarity. We got some interesting stuff. So Inferno Titan obviously is going to work pretty well with Aegar. Bloodfire Colossus is going to be interesting with Aegar. Quakebringer. So I guess it's mostly of the red stuff. Ooh, Calamity Bearer is going to be pretty spicy with Aegar. What else is some spice? Fury Stoke Giants. That's some spice with Aegar. Dealing excess damage by just tapping your stuff. Possibly other giants. What else? I guess Tectonic. No, wait. Creature or Planeswalker. Tectonic Giant would not work, but I don't know. I think there's enough here to be at least interesting. Ooh, Thundercloud Shaman. Thundercloud Shaman is going to be the ultimate spice. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to the number of giants you control to each non-giant creature. I think this is going to be the one that is going to be the standout in Aegar decks. Yeah. There's gonna be some good stuff here. So, is there enough in support for Aegar for it to be super interesting? I think so. A combination of changelings. I'd like to focus on the wizard side or on the giant side more than the wizard side, just because like, is it wizards has been a thing forever, and I feel like the giant part is the more unique part of it. So I think there's going to be enough stuff here to make it an interesting deck. I definitely want to try it out myself. I'm not sure if it's going to be amazing. I'd have to sit down and really play around with it. But it is a solid A in terms of my interest. I like the idea of is it giant wizards quite a lot. I like the idea of dealing excess damage to stuff with my wizard giants or spells. So that sounds just fun. It draws cards. It's 3 mana. You know, these are all things I definitely would give a thumbs up for. So yeah, Aegar. Let's put him in an A. He's a solid A. All right. Is S the best? Yes. S tier is the best, then A, then B, then C, then D. Don't forget it also says spells. Yeah. So stuff like Blasphemous Act will be really good. Earthquake effects will be really good. I guess since you are in blue, you could run like a bunch of earthquake effects in Aegar and then run stuff that gives your creatures flying so they're not affected by the earthquakes. So stuff like Archetype of Imagination, Wonder in your graveyard. There's a bunch. So there's some cool stuff you got here. Yeah, I like the card. It is fun. As long as there's enough like interesting giants, giant/wizard stuff to go. Maybe more like a spellslinger stuff. Anyway, let's go to I want to say the name and I'm going to get it wrong. Is it Firja? Firja? I'm just gonna call her Fergie. She's Fergie. So Fergie, Judge of Valor. This is a 5-mana Orzhov Angel Cleric, flying lifelink. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. So this is actually like insanely fun. I don't know. This is a nice card advantage, but like really good solid. It's like card advantage / card selection engine that also fills your graveyard at the same time. It's kind of like Surveil plus surveil 3, but you also get to keep one of the cards. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a mini impulse. I don't know. It's really cool. It's a really good version of card selection slash reanimation tool. Whenever he casts your second spell each turn, this is not an ability that I associate with Orzhov. Honestly, like I always think of whenever he casts your second spell each turn is more like a blue / is it thing. Maybe it's because like Throne of Eldraine made me think about that. It was like draw 2 or more cards each turn or whatever. But this feels like more of an is it ability, so it's actually cool to see it in an Orzhov color. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a little twist over here. Might be your new Umezawa commander. Definitely not, because I really like Umezawa as my commander. But I can definitely see Toshiro Umezawa being really good in the 99 Fergie. Firja? I don't know. It's Fergie now. I'm sorry. It's just Fergie now. Fergie it is. Yeah. So, yeah, strategic planning. Yeah, that is, I think, the closest analysis. Jorien Rune Diver is, yeah, similar to this sort of effect. Yeah, Jorien, and is it? Let's see how close. Is it like literally just Jorien? Jorien. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. Yep. Okay. So this is 3 mana. Is it pretty easy to pull this off in Is It colors? Like you have cards like Opt, just like cheap cantrips and stuff that you can cast at instant speed. So it's pretty easy to do in Is It colors. But Fergie has more of a payoff. You can get to look at 3 cards and then put one of them into your hand and fill your graveyard at the same time. So it's a bigger payoff. But in Orzhov colors, it's going to be harder to get those cantrips going and make them out also not only just cantrips, but like cantrips that are worth running. Like Opt is not the greatest card, but it's a solid card even in Commander. Like it's not insane, but it's solid. Does Orzhov have enough cards that are, Opt level? I don't know. Maybe. Like the main difference here is like the Scry 1 is actually really good. The fact that it's an instant is also really good in blue, because blue and Is It colors are like the colors of instant sorcery support. So we'll see what like Firja does with this, which is triggered ability. But what I will say is that I really like this difference in Orzhov. This is not a typical looking trigger that you associate with Orzhov. At least I don't associate with Orzhov very much. So I really like the design here. Yeah, every bad cantrip just becomes a divination for 1. I think my only concern with that is Firja is 5 mana. So you definitely want to be running a bunch of ways to protect Fergie from removal and stuff. But nonetheless, you are going to get got eventually, right? Like you'll be sitting with like, I don't know, God's Willing in your hand, so you can protect it. You can protect Fergie from target removal of a certain color, but then somebody board wipes. Or you have a Malakir Rebirth in your hand, so you can immediately return her from the next time she dies. You can immediately and cheaply return her back to the battlefield, but then somebody exiles her or something like that. So it's an investment, and the problem is if you run a bunch of cards that are not good unless you have Fergie out and she's 5 mana, it's going to feel really bad during the times when you don't have her out. So if there's enough redundancy, if there's enough cards that have Fergie's ability of the second spell you cast each turn, it's good. Or like these other cards have a lot of inherent synergy with other payoff cards in the deck, then that's going to make it more and more and more interesting. But if not, then I'm a little bit worried about going all in on Fergie's ability with relatively bad cards that are only good when she's on the battlefield. But I feel like of the commanders that I've seen so far, I feel like Fergie is the one that I'm the most curious to actually brew around. I don't know if the deck would be good, and I haven't seen what people have been doing with her yet, but she is the type of commander that the first one at least, that I look at and I'm like, I really want her in the command zone, and I want to see what I can actually build around with Fergie's ability, because it's so different for Orzhov that I really like her. So I don't know how strong she's going to be, but she's definitely S tier for me because it just intrigues me so much. I'm so interested in brewing around her. So she's an S tier, not because of her power level. She's definitely not as strong as Tergrid. I can tell you that, or Magda. But I think Fergie has some unique potential here. So I really want to play with her. She's fun. She looks fun. We have Fergie and Bergie. Who's Bergie? We got Aegar. I keep wanting to call him Aegar Targaryen, but I think that's Aegon Targaryen. But I don't know. And then I remember the ending of Game of Thrones, and I get sad again. So we're gonna pass that. All right, we have a lot of gods, but we're gonna skip by. All right, let's go to Harald. I don't know. I showed this artwork to a lot of my friends. And maybe it's just me, but the artwork makes me giggle every single time. No, I'm not going to explain it any further. Just makes me giggle. But regardless, yeah, it's a 3-mana Golgari elf warrior. It digs 5 to find an elf warrior or Tyvar, which is kind of cool that he finds. I think it's his brother, and puts it in your hands. It's just not good. I don't know. It's not very interesting to me. I guess this is the type of card that might be very interesting in limited. It's probably a high pick in limited because 3/2 with menace for 3 is good stats, and it can replace itself / find something pretty decent. But is it something that I want to put in a commander deck? And I actually recently just made finished the Elven Empire Precon upgrade, and I cut him. I cut him from the deck, from the Precon in the $20 upgrade. It just does not seem very interesting to me. Like, there's just better things you can do. So yeah, that's a D for me. I'm sorry. It just does not seem like a card I want to run in Commander. Oh boy, that was a quick D. Boom. Jacob, why is he breaking the staff? I don't think he's breaking the staff. I think he's touching the tips of the staves together. And I'm not gonna go any further with that one. Anyway, Kardur Doomscourge. 4 mana. 4 mana Rakdos. Legendary creature, Demon Berserker. Already, I'm very excited about this card. Simply because I love the idea of a Demon Berserker. And I like the artwork. And it looks neat already. I don't even know the rest of the card yet. And I'm already super excited about it. So when Kardur, I don't know, K. I'm going to call him K. Whenever K enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able, which is like a fancy way of saying the creatures your opponents control are goated. That's what you're trying to say. They're goated, but I guess goad is a mechanic that you're not allowed to mention unless goad is like an official mechanic in the thingy. But anyway, so you get to goad all your opposing creatures when it enters the battlefield. Underrated ability, I will say. And I know it's underrated because when Geode Ranger came out, I was like, this card is actually pretty good. It's kind of expensive, but it's in a green deck, so you can get to that mana pretty easily. And it goads each creature target player controls, not even all creatures. And I thought this card was really good. And everybody who was looking at the precon, I saw like a bunch of other people now do like precon upgrades. It's kind of like a normal thing. Before it was just me. I was the pioneer. But I saw a lot of other people when they were doing the upgrades. They immediately cut this out. It's just like not even like a consideration. Just like, this is a bad card. Take it out. I'm like, what? I've seen this card in practice. It's always been pretty solid. And now, Kardur, K, I don't know how to say it, Mr. K, he goads all your opponents, and it's an ETB effect. It's not landfall, so it's not repeatable, but it goads all your opponents. I think it's a really powerful ability. It's going to be, it's more powerful than it looks. Like, your opponents have a bunch of creatures on the battlefield. they don't necessarily want to attack each other because, you know, everybody's afraid about the crackback and everything like that. Then boom, Kardur enters the battlefield. Suddenly everybody has to attack. The first person who's unlucky enough to have to attack first, you know, they probably have to swing their creatures, maybe small utility creatures that they do not want to attack with, into somebody else's defending creatures, and then boom, those are dead creatures now. So it's kind of like indirect removal in that sense, and it just opens the door for you attacking too, because now everybody's tapping down. Basically, unless they have vigilance or they cast a creature after the combat phase or something like that, you're gonna have an easy way of actually attacking people. So I like K's ability. I like mass goading a lot. And then it says whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Nice little drain effect. I think for both these two things, I really like it a lot. I think this entire package for 4 mana is really sweet, really good for an uncommon. Would I want it in the command zone? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if I like him in the command zone. I like the idea of blinking him or reanimating him for cheap, you know, like sacrificing him for something and then Malakir rebirthing him or something like that. His ability is really, really neat. I like it. It's neat. I would give it an A+ tier. I don't know if I'd build around it, but I would definitely put it in the 99 of things. I also like that it's a Demon Berserker. Is it S tier? Is it S tier? Yeah, you know what? I'll put it S tier for now. Maybe I'll adjust the S tier afterwards, but no, I put him A tier. I really like the ability. I think it's underrated, but also at the same time, I probably wouldn't build a deck around him. maybe that's just me. Maybe I will build around him. I don't know. All right. Next up, we got Koll, the Forgemaster, aka the commander, the new combo commander for Boros decks. The idea with Koll, the Forgemaster, it's 2 mana Boros, Dwarf Warrior, 2/2. Not very interesting there, but at least 2 mana means it's cheap. It comes onto the battlefield very consistently, and you could probably recast them a couple times too from the command zone without too much issue. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. So this is protection for your aura-based or equipment-based decks. And it also says creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. So it kind of gives any creature a bonus, right? Like if you have a non-token creature that's equipped or enchanted, you get to return to your hand. If it's a token, though, you can't return it to your hand. It's going to disappear as soon as it dies. But at the very least, it gets +1/+1. So it always does that. So it's kind of interesting in any sort of equipment or enchantment deck. But what people have figured out very quickly is that if you have Koll and you have a creature that can be played for free, there's a couple of them. But I think the most common one is Ornithopter. It's a 0 mana. The important thing here is the 0 mana creature, right? So you can cast it for free. If you have Ornithopter and you equip it with, I forget what its name. What is the name? It's from Kamigawa block. It's an equipment. Shuko. There we go. Shuko. That's the one. Yes. This is a 1 mana equipment, so very easy to get onto the battlefield. Equip creature gets +1/+0. The main thing here is its equip cost is 0. So, if you have a 0 mana creature, like Ornithopter, just open up a new tab. This is my life now. Ornithopter. So if you have a 0 mana creature, Ornithopter, that you can cast for freeze, essentially, 0 mana. You have a 0 mana equipment, Shuko, or you could have like Pure Steel Paladin or something like that. And you have a way to sacrifice your creature for value. Please, Scryfall. Goblin Bombardment. Here we go. There's a lot of ways. But Goblin Bombardment is one of the ways. Please, Scryfall, please. So you have what's his face? You have Koll on the battlefield. You equip the Ornithopter with Shuko, so 0 mana to do all of this. Then you sacrifice the Ornithopter to Goblin Bombardment to ping a player for 1 damage. What happens is Ornithopter goes to the graveyard, and then Koll immediately puts it back to your hand. Then you can recast the Ornithopter, equip it for free again with the Shuko, and then just sacrifice it to Goblin Bombardment to deal infinite damage to all your opponents. Now, there's some redundancy here. There's other ways you can actually kill everything. I think Blasting Station's another way you can do it. I think. Please? I don't know. Scraffle's very slow right now. Sacrifice a creature. Boom, boom, boom. So deal 1 damage. So this is the alternative to Goblin Bombardment. There's a bunch of different ways. And then for you don't need actually an equipment that equips for free if you have alternative ways of equipping it, like if you have Metalcraft or Pure Steel Paladin. So there's redundancies here, and that's what people are mostly hyped for with Koll. It's a Boros commander that it's a 4-card combo. There's a lot of redundancy in the deck because there's a lot of 0 mana creatures, Ornithopter creatures. There's at least Shuko. There might be other equipments that equip for 0, but at the very least, there's stuff like Pure Steel Paladin makes equip cost 0. So there's a decent amount of redundancy. One of the combo pieces is in your command zone. That's kind of like, oh yeah, Lightning Greaves is another one. Shuko, there's also Lightning Greaves. So there's a decent amount of redundancy. It's a combo. It's an instant win. Is it great? I don't know. For me personally, I'm not very excited about it. It feels like very much like a, you do it once and then you're like, yay, and that's basically it. It's heavily reliant on Koll to being on the battlefield. Like the only piece that's not redundant is Koll, right? You need Koll for this combo to work. And yes, he's in command zone. Yes, he costs 2 mana. But if he's killed multiple times, you just don't have a combo anymore, right? And it is a 4-card combo, so yes, there is redundancy, but you do need 4 cards, so if there is removal, your deck literally just does nothing. Like, if you have a bunch of Ornithopters and like a Shuko effect, you could have other equipments too to make these cards, viable. You could add like Sword of X and Y into the deck, and then, an Ornithopter holds a Sword of Fire and Ice, fine. It has evasion. It's fine. But is this a deck that I'm particularly interested in? Not so much. I think the deck can be more well-rounded than just like a focused combo deck. And I like the fact that you could run like Koll as an equipment deck, for example, that just so happens to have, some combo finishers. I don't think it's a bad card. I think it's a fine commander. It has combo potential. So as long as you flesh out the commander, the deck as an equipment deck that, can also just win out of nowhere, I think that's really good. Am I interested in it in the 99? Not so much. Am I interested in it in the command zone? Probably not. I'm more interested in something like Akiri, personally. But, yeah, he's a B. He's fine. He's good. I think he's not draft trap. I don't think he's bad, but it's not something that I'm personally that excited for. So he's a solid B. B is not bad. B is decent. B is decent. All right, everyone. B is very decent. Oh, there you go. All right. What's next? Ooh, okay. We got Coma. All right, Coma Cosmos Serpent. This is a 7-mana creature, Simic, and it is actually not busted for a Simic card, which is crazy. Wow, good job, Wizards, for not making another busted Simic commander. Okay, so it's big old Serpent, 6/6, can't be countered. It seems like it's geared up to be like a sideboard card for control mirrors. This is what that card gives me vibes of. It's like, if Simic control is a thing in Standard, and I mean historically that has been a thing for a while, if you were in the mirror you'd bring that out. But again, I haven't played Standard in like a decade, so I could be totally wrong on that one. But that's the vibes that I'm getting. That's the vibe. I'm also getting like vibes on like you can't beat it in Limited. Those are the vibes I'm getting. At the beginning of each upkeep, though, you create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Koma's Coil, which I think is really cool. The idea of it being able to like split off into lesser serpents and just like the magnitude of it is very cool to me. So I like that ability. And then you can sacrifice another serpent to choose one. Tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Or you can gain it indestructible in this turn. It doesn't draw cards, which is, again, bravo, Wizards, for not making it busted. It doesn't ramp either, so it's just a big thing. And it's a big thing that quickly makes a bunch of tokens, and it can make itself indestructible or tap down stuff. I don't know. I think it's cool. Is it like super exciting? Not so much. Hey, good night, Simon. I think it grows pretty fast. Like, imagine one turn cycle at the table. You play Koma, and assuming you have 3 opponents, each upkeep you're making a 3/3 blue serpent creature, including your opponent's upkeeps. So you have 3 opponents. That's 3 upkeeps already. That you get another token. By the time it's your turn again, by the time it's your next main phase, you have 4 serpent creatures, 3/3s on the battlefield. So you have, 12 more power on the battlefield. 8 or 15 power in one turn cycle? No, it's 4, right? I'm saying, like, your upkeep as well is counted. So it'd be 12, and then that's like 18 power on the battlefield by your next main phase, right? Beginning of each upkeep. Am I getting it right? I think so. Yeah. So that's 18 damage on the battlefield over one turn cycle to your next main phase. Like your first main phase, you cast Koma, then you skip until your next turn's main phase. You got 18 power on the battlefield. That's pretty solid investment for 7 mana, and the fact that Koma itself can't be countered, and it's very hard to get rid of because of the indestructibility. Really cool as just like a finisher. I like the idea of it. It makes 3/3s, so it's good with like token strategies, maybe some proliferate in there. And it's a serpent, so it's good for sea monster tribal. So do I want it as a commander? No. I do not care about it as a commander, but I do want to put it in the 99 of sea monster tribal. It's one of the better versions, better cards in that deck. So solid, decent, maybe even an awesome. Let's call him an awesome. Maybe an awesome card. Whoa. It's decent. I'll put it at decent. All right. We're slowly getting through it, chat. We're slowly getting through it. S for serpent. All right. Now we got Maya. Help me out, chat. Maya. M. Bredegard Protector. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, so a nice little anthem effect. So it's 5 mana. Selesnya, 2/3. Very underwhelming stats by itself. But other creatures you control get +1/+1. And it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 1/1 white human warrior creature token. So, it's land. What's a card? What's a good card here? Felidar Retreat. I think that's maybe like the closest thing you can compare it to. So Felidar Retreat, 4 mana, white, landfall. You can choose one, create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token, or put a +1/+1 counter creature on creatures you control and they gain vigilance. So that's a comparison you can have. Also, Retreat to Mirror is also good too, as a comparison note. Is it as good as Felidar Retreat? No, not so much. But it does make warriors and it does make humans. Those are 2 things that are vaguely interesting. I would put it in a bunch of like Selesnya token decks, but I wouldn't put it as 99 of any of them. That's the main sticking point. Is it's fine as part of the 99. I'm not super stoked on it, but it does a decent job. So it's like, I would say it's a C. I'm not super excited for it, but I'll run it in certain budget decks. It's fine. It's I don't even know what to call it. It tries. All right, next up, we got Moritte of the Frost. This is a changeling. I like changelings a lot. I have a bias towards changelings because oh yeah, cool. Cool is nice. Cool is the nicest way to put it. Moritte of the Frost. I like changelings. I like tribal a whole bunch. So that already gets a +1 in my books in a ranking scale. So it's no longer a D. It has to be something higher than that. And it's a clone. It's a Simic clone. You may have Moritte of the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except as legendary and snow, in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with 2 plus additional +1/+1 counters on it, and it also has changeling. So you still get a bunch of benefits from just like tribal synergies and whatnot. And it's a copy of a permanent, so you can, if you have a really nice land, you want to get another land on the battlefield for whatever it is, then Moritte's your shapeshifter, or you get like a nice artifact or something like that. That's cool. It's fine. I don't know. It doesn't excite me too much. It's basically like a Snow Simic Sakashima, I guess. I don't know. It's a changeling too, so it's a little bit better. It's fine. I don't know. I'll put it in the cool tier. Doesn't really ring my bell that much, But it's fine. It's all right. Okay. Next up, Narfi. I like the name Narfi. Narfi is just like a funny name to me. I don't know if that's very culturally insensitive or not. So if it is, I'm so sorry. But I just like the name Narf. Nerf. Yeah, it reminds me of like Pinky and the Brain or something like that. So it's a 5 mana Dimir zombie wizard. I like the art. He's a betrayer king. That's pretty sick. I like the flavor text. To serve the god of death, Narfi forfeited the warmth of life. These are all cool things. So flavor-wise, it's already up. It's already up beyond D tier, I would say. Narf. Oh man, if this is insensitive, I'm so sorry. Please don't cancel me. Other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. That's not really that great for a 5 mana creature, and then you get paid 3 snow mana to return Narfi, Betrayer King, from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This could be strong. It really depends. Is there any way to sacrifice Narfi to generate 3 snow mana? Is there any combo potential with Narfi here? I'm not sure. I don't think so. There's no like Phyrexian Altar that generates 3 snow mana when you sacrifice it. I don't know. He seems. I wouldn't run him in a lot of decks. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something here, folks. But all right. So I would put him in D for the card mechanics. For the card mechanics, I put him in D. But I really like the name Narfi, so I'm gonna put him in C for cool. He's cool. Yeah. He looks fine. Maybe he has some neat combos on him, but nothing strikes me as impressive. I probably would not run him, but maybe I'd run him if I'm very committed to a snow deck, or because I just find the name really fun. All right. Next up, we got Terulf. This is another one that I'm pretty hyped for, and I did a video on when it was previewed. So Terulf is a strong card, a very, very strong card. It's Golgari. It's a 3 mana, 3/3 legendary wolf, and it says whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Terulf Realm Eater. So It's any permanent an opponent controls. So that means your opponent cracks a fetch land, a wooded foothills, for example, to find a forest or a duel or something like that. Boom, that grows Terulf. Oh, there's a board wipe and your opponent's creatures die. Assuming Terulf survives, boom, that's a bunch of +1/+1 counters on Terulf. I don't know, they crack like an Aura of Silence to destroy something, another counter on Terulf. It grows really fast is what I'm trying to say. It grows faster if you're actively removing your opponent's permanents, but your opponents are going to be sacrificing or just removing their own permanents all the time. So it's going to passively grow into a large threat. And then it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if Terulf has one or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. This is kind of, I think it's a throwback to a very old school card that saw a lot of play, I think in like the standard of many years ago, at least 2006. I don't know, it's a pretty old card. When was Apocalypse? When was Apocalypse out? I think 2001. I think 2001. Anywho, Pernicious Deed had like a similar effect where you would pay X, sacrifice Pernicious Deed, destroy each artifact, creature, enchantment with converted mana cost X or less. Terulf is like takes that to the next level, where you don't have to pay mana on it, you just remove counters on it. It exiles it, and it affects all non-land permanents. So I think Pernicious Deed didn't deal with planeswalkers. I think that's the major thing that it's missing here. It gets artifact, creature, and enchantment, but no planeswalkers. But Terulf gets it. So this is it's either a threat or it's a creature that you can immediately just like start hosing the rest of the table. It definitely is also a high salt card. Because basically, like, imagine this. I have a Terulf on the battlefield, and you're my opponent. You have a bunch of cards in your hand that you very much do not want to have exiled. And my Terulf has a bunch of counters on it, and probably is going to get a bunch more counters on it. What do? Do you play your permanents onto the battlefield, and then potentially have them all exiled by Terulf? Or do you hold on to it and wait until somebody has an answer for Terulf before you play onto it? What if I have a bunch of ways of protecting Terulf with cheap protection spells like Finds of the Vastwood and stuff like that, or Veil of Summer? What do you do then? Do you play the game of Magic? Do you try to play the game of Magic? What if I exile all your things? What if you have a nice board state and I just exile all of it? It's definitely, it's like holding a gun to the table. And it's definitely going to be forcing your opponents to play archenemy with you. And again, if you take that well, then it's an interesting dynamic. If you don't take it well, then it's not an interesting dynamic. Also, Terulf is really good. You don't have to get +1/+1 counter just by removing your opponent's stuff. You can also just like give it a bunch of counters too, like increasing savagery. Or a bunch of other ways like this. You could just put 5 counters on it and grow it a whole bunch of ways. So Terulf definitely is a type of card that you could either have in the 9/9 or as a commander. You could just like kill people with commander damage pretty easily with Terulf. And you could just have like Terulf in your command zone, run a bunch of +1/+1 counter cards to grow Terulf. And then anytime your opponents throw up any sort of opposition, you just wipe the board of their boards and then you continue smashing face with them. So very scary as a commander, also powerful as a 9/9. Remember, it is essentially a board wipe that is in creature form, so green decks can tutor it up very easily. I think somebody mentioned it's like Child of Alara, and that's a good analogy here. Yeah, Jacob says it's like Child of Alara. I actually owned a Child of Alara deck, and the deck was absolutely obnoxious, friends. It was a Lands Matters deck, so lands dock deck. It had like 60 or so lands in it, and it was all about looping Child of Alara. Eventually, I got to a point where I would have 7 more planes, so I could find Emeria, and then every single turn I would bring back Child of Alara of Emeria. There's also a blue enchantment, a blue aura, that was like whenever the creature died, you get to put it back immediately onto the battlefield or something like that. I forget what it was. It was a blue enchantment, I think from like Time Spiral. I don't remember the name, but basically like use like a Phyrexian Tower, right? Use like a Phyrexian Tower, sacrifice Child of Valara whenever you want, wipe the board, and then get Child of Valara back, and just keep doing it more and more. Fool's Demise. I think that's the one, yeah. Here we go. When an enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control. When Fool's Demise is put onto the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So you equip, you enchant Child of Valara Fool's Demise, then you sacrifice it whatever way, and then you just re-enchant Fool's Demise onto it, and you can just do it over and over again. It's very obnoxious. I took the deck apart, and I feel like Terulf is kind of like the, kind of like the second version of that. I don't know. I think he's still pretty cool. Would I want him as a commander? I think I would want to play him once or twice as a commander, but probably not more than that. I think he would cost too much salt that I would get bored of him. But he is definitely very powerful. He's also very interesting as part of the 99 because he's less obnoxious in that way. And so I'll put him in an S tier. I think he's really neat. I like the design a lot. I wouldn't want to run him more than once as my commander, but as part of the 99, I'd run him multiple times. Why is Fergie S? Am I missing something? I'm just interested in running Fergie as a commander. She piques my interest. I don't know if she's actually good, but I like her. So yeah, this is definitely not a power scale. It's more of a how interested am I in playing it. But I guess there is a correlation on how interested I am in playing a card with how powerful the card is. But that's not my intent. All right, here we go. We got Svella Ice Shaper. This is the Gruul uncommon Troll Warrior. I like trolls, so this already got me kind of interested. But it's a snow creature, and I really don't like snow, so I'm going to give it, it's a +1 for being a troll, and a -1 for being snow. So you can pay 3 and tap it to create a colorless snow artifact, a token named Icy Manalith, with 1, tap it for any color. So you just make a mana rock. Very, very, meh. It's kind of meh. I don't know. Not interested for me. Then you can spend 8 mana to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. That's a lot of mana for that sort of ability, but I'm assuming like you're only activating her ability like that if you just have so much mana that you don't know what to do with it. So is Fella good? Yeah. I'm sure there's ways that you could find ways like training grounds and stuff to make her ability to make mana lifts a lot cheaper, and her other ability a lot cheaper. She makes mana rocks. She can play like a very nerfed Golos, I guess. Yeah, that's a D. I don't know. I just don't care. I don't know. I put her in the cool tier if she was just a troll, but then she's a snow, and I don't like snow, so she's a D. I'm gonna say dang. That's a dang tier. All right, Vega the Watcher. I like the name Vega. I wish Vega had like some sort of claw. I guess he does have claws in the literal sense, because he has talons. But it would have been cool if he had like a mask or something on, and some claw effects for anybody who recognizes Street Fighter references. But yeah, Vega the Watcher, 3 mana draw engine in an alternative way of drawing cards. It's whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. So whenever you cast a spell from the graveyard, for example. Flashback is a thing, so like think twice. If you cast a spell with flashback, that works. Radical Idea works. Jumpstart effects work. Foretell effects obviously work. So if you cast like Doomscourge from exile, With Foretell, you draw a card. So there's a bunch of ways you can do it. Oh, Suspend. I don't know any Suspend cards off the top of my head, though. Maybe a Restore Balance. Yeah, Restore Balance. You can cast spells with Suspend from Exile. Cipher. There's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Future Sight is another way. There's a lot of ways to draw cards. So, I don't know. It doesn't really do anything particularly, like, I don't know. It doesn't do anything particularly exciting to me. It just draws cards. But it does encourage you to run a bunch of cards that aren't from your hand, which I think is pretty neat. But is it like an exciting card for me? Do I suddenly want to build a deck around it? No, not really. I don't know. It's a little bit too generic for me. And I do like drawing cards, but yeah, it's probably part of the 99 of a bunch of decks, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if it was like a Jeskai deck that had a lot of like, maybe 7. Ooh, this is the deck I wanted. Savine? This guy. This is where I'd run Vega. Whenever you cast your first instant resurgence spell from your graveyard, each turn copy that spell. This is the 99 of that. Boom. Boom. That's where I want Vega. A nice flashback deck / jumpstart deck. Yeah. So that's where I'd put him. But yeah, not personally that excited about it. I don't know. All right. Next up, we got Sigrid God-Favored. 3 mana flash. Ooh. 2/2. First strike, protection from god creatures. Pretty specific, but okay. When Sigrid God-Favored enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target attacking or blocking creature until Sigrid leaves the battlefield. It's like I don't remember the name of it. Horxus or something from like Origins. I don't know. Yeah, it's a flash banisher priest, but it's a little bit more specific than that. Yeah, the creature has to be attacking or blocking already. Yeah, I don't really care about this card. I'm just gonna put it in a nice D tier. Don't care. Don't care. That's what I want. All right. Oh wait, no, that's a god. Oh, we're almost running out on the non-gods. All right. Inga Rune-Eyes. Inga is 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, scry 3, so that's pretty okay. And then when it dies, draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures died this turn. I don't know. I think this card is good. It's probably not something I would want in the command zone, but like in a Dimir deck where you have a bunch of tokens on the battlefield, you have a sacrifice theme. I think it's actually really good in that style of deck, but not something I would want to build a commander around. But it does have it has a high potential in like the mere sacrifice or any sort of style of sacrifice decks. And I don't know, I think it's pretty decent. I can see myself running it every once in a while and it doing really good. Yeah, just like imagine just like scry 3, draw 3 for 4 mana, and you're probably sacrificing it to do something too. So I don't think it's bad. I think it's a pretty solid card, but it definitely requires the right deck. Arumi maybe, yeah. Arumi maybe. All right. Here we go. Oh, here's some spice. Orvar, the All form. So Orvar is a card that I'm excited for, but I'm also excited to see all the salts when people build around Orvar, and I just mercilessly kill their Orvar over and over again, and their deck does nothing. So here's the interesting thing about Orvar. Let's read the card together first, and then I'll tell you why I'm so evil right now. So it's a 4 mana, 3/3 legendary creature shapeshifter, changeling, always +1 for changeling. I love changelings. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. That's incredibly powerful. When a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard a card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent. That part, you're probably not going to come across a lot of situations where your opponents are requiring you to discard, but so it's more of a fluff. But like, I mean, if you like come across Tergrid or something, then boom, you have a little bit some of that tech. I haven't summoned where Orvar is. Oh yeah, so Mudsta's actually, I heard Mudsta's actually going to be replacing his Mistform Ultimus deck with Orvar. That's word on the street is. He's like, wow, this card is so much better than my trash commander that it was an easy swap. Easy swap. You heard it here, folks. The hot takes. So Orvar. So the first thing I really like about Orvar is the artwork. The artwork is like really creepy, and my headcanon is like you see like there's a bunch of these like tentacles in the water. And you see that there's like a tentacle beside Orvar, and you don't see Orvar's legs, right? His robes just kind of sink into the water, and he disappears. And you're like, how's he standing here? You know, like how's he hanging out in the middle of the water? Is he like floating on water? No, sir. I think what's going on here is that Orvar is actually just like a tentacle of this giant monster, and it's like a flesh puppet thingy, where like the tentacle has assumed like a humanoid form, which is like especially creepy to me, and I love it. I love it so much. I really hope that is the case. If there's like Orvar lore where he's actually a giant sea monster, I would be super excited. So Orvar's ability requires you targeting your own permanents with instants or sorceries. Look up the alt art. There's lore for Orvar. Am I right? Am I right, chat? Wait, it's over here. Orvar. Here we go. Orvar. I mean, the artwork's really sick, too. There are tentacles coming around him, so maybe, yeah, maybe it is true. Tentacles have a face? Oh, boy. That's fun. That is fun. All right, so I haven't actually brewed with Orvar yet, but my idea would be you have, like, a bunch of permanents on the battlefield. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? And then you find cheap ways of targeting your stuff as efficiently as possible, right? I'm sure there's like a bunch of like 1 mana or even 0 mana spells that can like repeatedly target your permanents and then make just a bunch of copies of whatever permanent on the battlefield. It's kind of similar. It's kind of similar, but very different to one of my favorite mono red decks, Zadahedron Grinder, where it's totally different. It's red instead of blue. It also deals with instant sorceries targeting your permanents, but that permanent has to be Zada, and that's how you get your value out of it. And Zada is basically like a all-in combo deck, or at least that's how I built her. I'm assuming Orvar is not going to be all-in combo, or his combos might be a little bit slower and more well-rounded, I would assume. But yeah, I'm not really sure what exactly you're going to be using to fill an Orvar deck, but it's going to be blue instants or sorceries that are like 1, maybe 2 mana tops, targeting your permanents. Maybe if they have like flashback or retrace or something like that, then it will be a little bit easier to get additional value out of those cards more than once with Orvar. And then you like target, you like Twiddle, for example. Twiddle, like, where is it? Twiddle, untap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. So you can untap a land and then make another land permanent, copy land permanent or something like that. Yeah, Ghostly Flicker. I guess Ghostly Flicker is probably a little bit too expensive in terms of mana cost. It's 3 mana. But there's going to be a lot of neat things you could do with Orvar. The only thing is, there's a lot of people who are going to fall into the trap of basically just like filling the deck with cheap cantrips for Orvar to make copies of, and then just like falling apart if Orvar is not on the battlefield. Like, imagine filling your deck with cards like Twiddle, and then there's me, and all I want to do is murder your Orvar. And sure, you're in blue, you can protect Orvar with counter magic. Counter magic's really good, protecting your Orvar, and maybe you do get to keep Orvar around, but maybe not. Maybe use one counter magic. You don't have another one for the next one. Maybe there's a board wipe that you just can't handle, and poor Orvar just gets killed over and over and over again, and then all you're left with are twiddles in your hand. That is the world that I want to be in. I want to be up against the Orvar player who, he just didn't have the right counter at the right time, and then I just kill Orvar, and then they just have a handful of twiddles. Oh boy, will I just laugh like a villain. Oh boy. But anyway, I really like Orvar. I think Orvar is really cool. And I will put him in the S tier. I think he's really neat. He'll make some unique decks. I mean, he'll make a unique deck. I'm assuming most Orvar decks are going to look all exactly the same. Very much a kill on sight commander. Like, if you let Orvar untap, I'm assuming Orvar is going to generate so many tokens that he's going to either outright win the game or be so far ahead that you basically need a board wipe to even catch up. Be that as it may, it'll be very funny to have the Orvar player just have his commander hated out and be stuck with a bunch of twiddles in hand. That is, either way, it's going to be very hilarious. Like, either he gets to pop off and it's a very unique thing, or he gets shut down and he just has a bunch of twiddles, and I just laugh, and I laugh, and I laugh. All right, so now we just have the commanders. Now we just have the commanders chat, and unfortunately, they're all flip ones, and the tier list is not amazing at showcasing them. So we're gonna go through them, but through the Scryfall, so we can actually flip them around. So we'll start with Allrund. Allrund, he has two sides. One is the God side. He gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, and each foretelled card you own in exile. So you have a reliquary tower on the battlefield, so you have an infinite hand size or something like that, or a thought vessel. And then you draw a bunch of cards. Maybe this is like card draw tribal. You draw your entire library or something. You make him the 40/40 or whatever, and you smack somebody, give him evasion, and you win. You win with commander damage. That's fine. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top two cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type revealed this way into your hand, and the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. This kind of encourages you to focus on a single card type. Maybe you're like instant tribal Allrund or something like that. But really, you just need something like Future Sight, right? Like if you have Future Sight on the battlefield, you can just choose whatever you see on the top of your library. Stuff like Scryfall and stuff. 150%. All right. Look at that. There we go. So something like Future Sight is going to work really well with him, where you can see the top of your library. Scry effects are going to be really effective with him. In fact, his other side, Hako Whispering Raven, allows you to just like scry and then immediately recast, like bounces your hand, scry to play Allrund, and then at the beginning of your end step, you know what the top two cards are, so you could just choose one of them and get the value out of that. So it's a scry deck kind of. It's a card draw style deck kind of. He's good in maybe like an Elegeth deck. This is the partner legendary that says if you would scry a number of cards, you draw that many cards instead. So Allrund can scry, and he likes scrying effects. Elegeth likes scrying effects. He'd probably be good in the 99 there. I'm not that excited about him, to be honest. He's decent, I'm not like really excited to like build around him or anything, but he's fine. He's all right. All right, next up, we got Bergie, I think. Bergie? All right, Bergie. Bergie, God of Storytelling. This is a broken card right off the bat. It is 3 mana, red, God, 3/3, and it says whenever you cast a spell, add 1 red mana until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. This line is irrelevant. Nobody cares about this line. I mean, I'm sure there's like one person out there who's like, wow, finally, boast tribal as my commander. Wowee. No. This line can not exist, and most people would still be the most hyped about her. It's all about this one, where it's whenever you cast a spell, add 1 red mana. Till end of turn, you can spend it. It's insane ramp. it's basically like mono red Animar, I guess. Like you run like, let's say Cloudstone Curio, right? It says whenever a non-artifact permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you may return another permanent you control that shares a permanent type with it to its owner's hand. And then you have like Ornithopter, right? You have 2 0-mana creatures like Ornithopter, cost 0 mana, and you just cast them for free, bounce the other one back to your hand, keep doing it, make infinite mana with Birgi, and then, you know, like, I don't know, Comet Storm, win the game, you know, X equals lethal. You could also put, yeah, Zada is another good one too. Doesn't work with Ornithopter, why not? Whenever you cast a spell, add a red. It does work. Oh, non-artifact, sorry, okay, so Kobold. These ones. You run these ones. Sorry, you're correct, chat. Kobolds of Karakeep, Crimson Kobolds, Crookshank Kobolds, Rograk. Yeah. So you read the 0 ones. Run the 0 mana Kobolds, and you'll be good with Classical Curio. A quick buyout, Comet Storm. Yeah, that is not something I would recommend. Also really good at Zada. Any sort of like Storm deck, it's pretty solid. Kaikar, you know? You can put a Kaikar, and then every time you cast a non-creature spell, you make a spirit that you could add red with, and you make another red with Birgi. Though Kaikar probably has enough red mana, it probably wants more like blue or whatever mana. But yeah, so it's like basically it's a Storm Commander. Denzel, yeah, it's a Storm Commander. Cloudstone Curio, that sort of stuff. Go Storm off, combo off with Kobolds or whatever. Is she something that I'm like super hyped for? Not really. It's not really my thing too much. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too critical, but I think she's pretty awesome. But would I run her as a commander? Not so much. Not so much as a commander. Part of the 99, yeah, she's like a pretty powerful ramp engine in a bunch of stormy style decks. So I'll put her in awesome, you know? All right. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Cosma, God of the Voyage. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosma. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosma is exiled, you may put a Voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosma onto the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it and draw X cards, raises the number of Voyage counters on it. So you basically pay 3 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, you exile it. Then for every single land you put onto the battlefield while it's exiled, so it's a landfall ability, every land you put onto the battlefield, you put a Voyage counter on her. So you basically draw a card for every land you put on the battlefield -1, because one is required to actually return to the battlefield. When she returns to the battlefield, she becomes a really big creature, and she draws you a bunch of cards. So like you exile her, like you pay 3, you exile her on your upkeep. Then let's say you play 6 lands, and the 6th one you decide to return her. So she'll enter the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters on her, and you draw 5 cards. Is it great? Yes. It is proliferate? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. She seems really good in Simic. Simic is all about lanes entering the battlefield. She's very slow. I'm not really interested in her in mono blue, but in Simic, yeah. And then her other side is Omen Keel, which is a vehicle, a boat in the command zone, potentially, if you want to run her as commander. Legendary artifact. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled. That's a really cool ability. It's pretty unique. It's also only crew 1. It doesn't have evasion. It's a 3/3, so it's a little bit fragile in terms of trying to get in there. I like this. I like the ability of having a boat in your command zone. I think this is really cool. Cosma, though, in your command zone, I don't really care too much about, because there's a limited amount of ways for mono blue to get a lot of landfall. Though, if you are in mono blue, you could just do like flooded plane. You could run every single fetch land. Oh, it's Strand. Floodstrand. Floodplain. Well, we got there kind of. English. You can run Flooded Strand. You can run every single fetch land in mono blue that can get you an island. And that's another way to get more landfall tokens or landfall triggers out of Cosma. Does the vehicle deal commander damage? Yes. Both sides are the same commander. Yeah, she's I don't know. She's definitely in the decent range. I don't know. I'm not that interested in her. All right. Next up. We're almost done, chat. We're actually almost done. We almost got through all of them. Egon, God of Death. I like this whole Benjamin Button thing that's going on where he's actually aging backwards. He ages backward, his wisdom soured by youthful spite. So he's started like an old man, and he's just like, he's going to eventually become just like a baby. And then like unborn himself or something. I don't know. That's a cool idea. I like the idea. So it's a 3-mana legendary creature god. Death touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile 2 cards from your graveyard. If you can't, sacrifice Egon and draw a card. It's a 6/6 for 3, so that's basically, this is a drawback that eventually you can't afford it and you have to sacrifice him. But being like a being just like a generic 6/6 for 3 is just not that interesting in Commander because it's not that big of a threat, right? So the drawback is actually more harmful than the benefit is of having a 6/6 for 3. So I don't really care about that side too much. But the other side, Throne of Death, says at the beginning of your upkeep, you mill a card. So this is a nice little mill engine. It only costs 1 mana, right? It's only 1 mana, so it's pretty efficient at what it does. Milling a card every single time. And then exile a creature card from your graveyard to draw a card, pay 3, and you tap it. That's fine. It's not great. It's no Mesmeric Orb, right? But Mesmeric Orb is kind of nutty. There's a 2-mana artifact. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's control mills a card. It mills everybody, so that could be good or bad, depending on your deck. And it costs 2 instead of 1, so there's that. And you don't have another side to it. But generally speaking, Mesmeric Orb's way better. And Throne of Death / Egon, it's okay. It's okay in the mill deck. It's pretty decent in the mill deck. But I don't really care about it. It's cool. It's just cool. All right, next up. Isika, God of the Tree. All right, so this is the 5-mana god. It's green. It's mono green on one side, but its other side is 5 mana, so it's a 5-color identity. So Isika, God of the Tree, 3 mana, green, legendary creature god, 1/4 with vigilance. You can tap it to add 1 of any color, 1 mana of any color, which is, not great by itself, but it's fine. Other legendary creatures you control have vigilance and can tap to add 1 mana of any color. That's the really good part. If you have a bunch of legendary creatures on the battlefield just chilling, they can still attack because they have vigilance, but you can also tap them to add mana. So that's a nice ability. It's not insane, I don't think, but it is pretty solid. But the main meat of this card is definitely going to be the Prismatic Bridge. You have a legendary enchantment that can potentially be in your command zone, which is just really exciting to see. And it has a lot of cool text on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, you're never going to miss with this ability, right? You're revealing cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. If you have like only 1 or 2 creatures or planeswalkers in your deck, you're going to always hit those cards no matter what. So you could fill your deck, for example, with just like 3 or 4 or 5 just insanely big creatures, like Vorinclexes, like Blightsteel Colossi, those type of stuff, and you'll always flip into them. You can put Eldrazi totems directly onto the battlefield every single turn if you build your deck that way. If you do that, you can't use the front side. Yeah, but the front side's kind of boring. I don't know. I'm okay neglecting the front side for this really powerful back side. Time Stream Navigator is a good one too. Good pickup, magical hacker. Times your Navigator. So what this does is you can pay 4 mana and tap it and put it on the bottom of its owner's library, take an extra turn after this one. So if Times your Navigator is the only creature in your library, you could every single turn, and you have a haste enabler, and you have 4 mana to tap it to pay for it immediately. You can, for example, pay 4 mana, tap Times your Navigator, take an extra turn, and then on your extra turn, Isika will reveal the cards from the top of your library until you find Times your Navigator. Put that card directly onto the battlefield, and then you just have to pay another 4 mana again and tap the Times your Navigator again, and you take infinite turns that way. You still need to win the game, but it's probably pretty easy to win the game once you take infinite turns. So there are definitely some things to do here. This is interesting for a couple of reasons. Like, I think it's pretty cool to have a Super Friends deck that is 5 color and have Isika as your commander, because then you could play it as a prismatic bridge, and no matter what, you'll always, like, if you just have a deck full of planeswalkers, you'll always hit a planeswalker. That's pretty sweet. Atraxa is like the commander of choice for a lot of Super Friends decks, but if you do go 5 color, then you have access to red planeswalkers, so you have Nicoboluses, and you have Chandras and all that good stuff too. And it still supports your archetype. Like, you still flip planeswalkers with it, which is really cool. So you can play it very fairly. I think Super Friends Prismatic Bridge is very fair. You can go Legendary Tribal, where you can still use its Legendary Enchantment ability, but you can also play around with the Sika side. And also, if you play the Sika side, you could do... I bring this combo up all the time, but like, pay 5 mana, untap all creatures you control, take an extra combat phase. So with Sika, you can attack with all your creatures, 5 or more legendary creatures. Since they have vigilance, you can attack without tapping. Then, after declaring attacks and attacking with your creatures, you pay 5 mana. You tap those creatures to pay 5 mana to pay aggravative assaults activation, and you take an extra combat phase and untap everything. Infinite combats, boom, boom, boom. So it's pretty sweet. I also think it's an enchantment in the command zone, so you can go Enchantress, as people are saying. Yep. Barring enchantment creatures, yeah. Raw Enchantress seems much better. Yep. So there's an enchantment in your command zone. That's pretty cool too. I think she's pretty solid. I don't know. I like her. I think she's really, really good. I'll put her in the S tier. I like her. All right. Next up. Almost done. Almost done. Halvar, God of Battle. Here we go, friends. So Halvar, again, 2 sides. The God side is creatures you control that are enchanted or equipped have double strike. And I like that it both focuses on auras and enchantments. Auras and equipment, so like you can put them in multiple decks. At the beginning of each combat, you may attach target aura or equipment attached to a creature you control to target creature you control. That one's a little bit weaker than what I would hope. You know, like there's a lot of ways to circumvent equip costs, or not a lot. There aren't a lot of ways to circumvent equip costs, but there are definitely stronger versions of it. So Pure Steel Paladin's the best of the best because it draws a bunch of cards. But Metalcraft says equipments you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. It does have a requirement, but it is quite good. Then there's also Arden. You know, more recently Arnie. At the beginning of your combat or your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipments you control to target permanent your player. It doesn't have to be already equipped onto something. So that's the benefit there. There's other ones like Sigarda's Aid and stuff, but that's only when it enters the battlefield. So it's not bad, but it's not great, right? But the ability of giving creatures double strike is pretty solid. I don't remember the name of it. Rayhan. I think it's Rayhan. Not Rayhan. It's a Boros dude. Boros dude. There's one that's 2 mana, and it does the exact same thing. So Halvar looks a little bit sad in comparison. Rayev? Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, Rayev. So we've seen this exact ability before. Enchanted creature or crit creature till attacks against double strike. This one just says it doesn't require you to attack with it, so it can have double strike on the defense. But still, You usually want it just for attacking, and this is 2 mana versus 4 mana. But Halvar also has this part, which is also nice. Is that worth a full 4 mana? I think so. I think having the flexibility of both these two things at all times is pretty sweet. Yeah, he doesn't cheat on the cost. He doesn't move it, but in a way, he does cheat on it. It's just a very restricted cheat. And then finally, the second side, though, I think is actually better costed. It was 2 mana, Sword of the Realms. Creature gets +2/+0 and has Vigilance. When it dies, return to its owner's hand. So this is protection for your equipped creature. And I mean, the buff to it is pretty nice. The equip cost is only 2. It only costs 2 to cast. I think both of these are pretty decent all by itself. I think this card is pretty playable all by itself. Sword of the Realms is pretty playable all by itself. So that's already good. And then the fact that you have the Halvar side too. So when you don't need that equipment, and you'd much prefer having double strike, for example, you just play Halvar for that. That seems fantastic. I really like the flexibility here. Keep in mind, most of the best equipments have powerful combat triggers. All these sword cycles, sort of X and Y, all have powerful combat triggers. So giving double strike means you get to get 2 triggers off this. You get to draw 2 cards and deal 4 damage total. So Halvar, very much like this Swiss Army knife of abilities. You could either be an equipment if you need it to be an equipment, or if you need double strike, you can get that. Or if you need some swapperoonies, to save some mana, you got that too. Or if you just want protection, it's like a sword. It's solid. It's a really solid card. I like the design. I don't think it's like super pushed or anything, but the flexibility is great. And I love equipment, so I'm going to put it in the S tier. Definitely an S tier for me. All right. What else do we got? Jorn. J, God of Winter. This is the Snow Commander, Snow God. Has a very powerful ability. It's a snow creature itself, so yay, I guess. Whenever J attacks, untap each snow permanent you control. So you're untapping itself, and you're untapping probably your snow basic lands. Any other snow permanents you have on the battlefield, those get untapped too. But basically, the big selling point here is like, if you have just a bunch of snow lands on the battlefield, you get to untap all your lands each time it attacks, which is pretty big. Again, aggravated assault is a thing, but he's not in red, so you'd have to put him in the 99 to get that for infinite attack steps. But I'm sure there has to be some sort of combos with him too. But even if you're not comboing, the ability to just like untap all your stuff, like, where are you? Bear Umbra is like a good thing. Here we go. Essentially, worst case scenario in a snow deck, Jorn basically has this ability. Whenever it attacks, untap all lands you control. It's effective. I think that is effective. It could do even more than that sometimes if you have other snow permanents. Very effective. High ramp allows you to play more cards each turn, or activate more abilities each turn, which is pretty solid. I like it. And then the backside, Kaldheim the Rime Staff, also quite effective too. You may play target snow permanent card from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it enters the battlefield tapped. So it's like very solid graveyard recursion at the same time. It also can target lands. I don't know how many snow lands are going to end up in your graveyard, but if you do self-mill, it is another way to make sure you're hitting your land drops, at the very least. But I mean, if you have any other snow permanents in the graveyard too, pretty solid card overall. Quite strong. I'm not the biggest fan of snow personally, but at least this is an interesting-ish card. I'll say I'll put him in the awesome tier. I personally am not as stoked as some other people are for snow stuff, but I mean, snow could have been a lot worse in Kaldheim. I could have been complaining a lot more, but it was pretty tame overall, which is good. And the commander itself is not obnoxious or anything, so I think job well done. How does this work with Horizon Stone? Is the show mana still snow with the stone? I don't know what Horizon Stone is. I have to look that up. Oh no. Here we go. Horizon Stone. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes colorless instead. I don't think it would be snow anymore, right? I don't think the snow mana wouldn't be snow anymore. I could be wrong though. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not doing power tiers. I'm just doing like my general hype tier. So these are the ones I'm most hyped for. These are the ones I'm less hyped for, and these are the ones I'm just not at all hyped for. When do you think you'll have the Lathril article? Tomorrow, noon. All right. Koll, God of Kinship. I did a video on this one too, and it's okay. It's all right. It's very good for legendary tribal. Very, very powerful for legendary tribal and fast. So Koll, God side is as long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, Koll, God of Kinship gets +4, +2, and has Vigilance, which essentially means it's going to be a 6/6 with Vigilance for 4 mana. That's already a pretty impressive beater. Again, I don't really care about beaters by themselves. I'm more interested about the abilities, the utility they bring to the battlefield. But being a 6/6 with Vigilance for 4 is still a good start. Then you can pay 2 mana and tap it to look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a legendary creature from among them and put it onto your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So if you're in a full legendary creature deck, this is very solid incremental card advantage, and you can also attack with Koll first. So you have 6/6, you Vigilance, you smack somebody for 6. Later on, you activate an ability. You're probably getting a card every single turn. It's very fair, but it's also quite powerful. Like, I think people are writing her off as not that great, but I mean, it's a very fair card that is very effective at what she does. Nothing busted, but very effective. And then the second sign is basically essentially just a 2-mana ramp spell. Like, let's say you have nothing to do on turn 2, and you want to hit some ramp. You play the Ringheart Crest. It enters the battlefield. You choose a creature type, and then you add mana of that chosen type. Or if it's a legendary creature spell. So if you're in a legendary creature deck, which is what Koll wants to be in anyway, it's always going to be tapping for something relevant. And you basically have 2 mana, a 2-mana ramp spell at all times. Generally speaking, the God side is a lot more impressive. Like, it's incremental card advantage with a beater, very solid. But if you just don't have anything to do turn 2 or whatever, and you need that mana, then Ringheart Crest is very solid. I like the flexibility here. Is it very exciting for me? No, it's not an insane card or anything. But I think it's very good at what it does, and I'm happy to have it in any legendary creature deck if I end up making legendary creature decks. So, where would I put it? I would put it in... I put it in decent. It's pretty decent. Yeah, that's fair. All right. We only got 3 more. Where are you? All right. Raiden, God of the Worthy. Flying Vigilance. No lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Non-creature spells your opponent casts with converted mana cost 4 or more cost 2 more to cast. Whew. That is a lot for 3 mana, to be honest, if your opponents are running Snowlands. Which, I mean, probably eventually people are going to run Snowlands a lot as commonplace in Commander. But until then, that first ability... not that impressive. The second ability, though, is kind of nice as a taxing effect. It's also asymmetrical taxing, so it doesn't affect you for casting non-creature spells. It's only your opponents. It's a little bit, it only affects stuff 4 or more, so it's restrictive, but that restriction is offset by the fact that it doesn't affect you at all, and it requires you to pay 2, where most taxing effects only require you to pay 1. Like Thalia, for example. Thalia is like any non-creature spell, right? Any non-creature spell costs 1 more. It's only 2, and Raiden costs 3. And it affects all non-creature spells, but it also affects your own. And you only have to pay 1. So I think if you think of it as like Godhood Thalia, I think it's actually pretty solid. If you're running Thalia in your deck, Raiden is probably something that you may be wanting to run in the same deck, is what I think. Now, the other side is Valkyria Protector's Shield. If a source an opponent controls would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, prevent one of that damage. Meh, whatever. Whenever you or a permanent you control, because the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller plays 1. This feels like definitely a sideboard card that I'm not so interested in Commander. Maybe I don't even know. Maybe if I'm playing against like Toshiro Umezawa, I would like bust out the shield side and be like, hey, now all your stuff costs a little bit extra, so that sucks for you. But generally speaking, I don't think I'd use the shield side anymore. But I do like the fact that like I would cast Raiden, the God side like 90% of the time, you know, mostly for its non-creature spell part. But I like the fact that this side is kind of powerful against the right sort of deck. But you wouldn't cast it very often. But that's the nice of the beauty of its flexibility, right? 90% of the time you're going to cast Raiden, but sometimes you're going to sit down against an opponent where you actually want to use a shield side, and then boom, the shield side is actually pretty decent. So I think it's actually pretty good. It feels like a solid hate card that has some extra flexibility that most hate cards just don't have. So I like the ability of it, but would I run it in a bunch of decks? No, it's mostly for a stacks deck, right? So I would put it in decent. It's fine. All right. We did Tergrid, Torolf, God of Fury. So I also did a video on this one too. So I'm not going to go too big on it. But yeah, God side 5/4 with trample for 4. That's already pretty decent stats. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent control is dealt excess non-combat damage, Torolf God of Fury deals damage equal to the X. Yeah. Wow. So talking straight for like 2 hours and a half. Yeah, I can't even say words anymore. You know what I mean? Talking a lot for so long is getting to my brain. My brain is becoming mush. But we're powering through the last 2 cards. Whenever you deal excess non-combat damage, Torolf takes that excess damage and aims it at another target permanent. Very cool. Other than that same target. Very nice. It has some fun things with stuff like Fiery Emancipation. Right? So let's say you cast a lightning bolt onto a target. Right? You have Fiery Emancipation on the battlefield. You have Torolf on the battlefield. Torolf says it deals the excess over to another permanent. And Fiery Emancipation says whenever a source you control will deal damage, it deals triple instead. So let's say you Lightning Bolt a 1/1 squirrel token just randomly. So Lightning Bolt is 3 damage. Fiery Emancipation says triples that damage. So now you're dealing 9 damage to that squirrel, 8 excess damage because it has only 1 toughness. When that happens, Torolf sees that. It takes that 8 excess damage, and let's say you just aim it at an opponent's face, for example. Or no, you could aim it whenever a creature you could aim it at like another. You can aim it at another squirrel creature, right? So now you aim that 8 excess damage at another squirrel token, and then it's 8 times 3, and my brain actually just can't do it. I think it's 24. It's 24 damage to that poor 1/1 squirrel token number 2. So it takes 24 damage, 23 being the excess. And then let's say they have another squirrel token. Torolf takes that damage, that 23 damage, aims it at the next squirrel token. Fiery Emancipation triples that again. 69. There we go. There's the number. Boom. Very nice. Very cool. You could chain that over and over again until you have lethal on at least one opponent's face and you kill them as well. So Torolf plus stuff like Fire Emancipation, Furnace of Wrath, Dictate of the Twin Gods, all these stuff is very good. Very powerful. Torolf, really fun things you can do with Torolf. Yeah, Basilisk Collar. Basilisk Collar says gives it Death Touch, but also lifelink. But let's say you give Torolf Death Touch. Then what Death Touch means, like if you equip Terulf with Basilisk Collar, it gives him Death Touch and Lifelink. And what Death Touch means is whenever you deal like 1 damage to a creature with Death Touch, the excess damage is anything beyond that 1 damage to kill it. So Terulf's excess damage ability will trigger more often. Point is, it's really good. All right, I'm going on a tangent. Terulf is really sweet, really fun card. I'm very excited for it. Then the equipment side, his hammer, it's fine. A creature has pay 2, tap it, unattach the hammer. It deals 3 damage to any target. Then you return it to its owner's hand. Flavorfully, like this is basically a lightning bolt on ability. Flavorfully, I love the idea. You basically, like, you could just imagine you're paying 2 mana, which is like the effort required to like take this hammer. Tap it is like throwing the hammer and unattaching it from your hand, so it's leaving your hand. It smacks somebody in the face for 3 damage, and then Thor's hammer like returns back to the user, right? So it returns back to the owner's hand afterwards, which I think flavorfully, mechanically, I like that combination. I don't know if there's a term for when flavor hits mechanics, but I just think that's really cool. I like how it's worded and stuff. Is it very powerful? Probably not, but whatever. And then equip creatures plus 3/0, as long as it's a legendary, plus 3/0 for a 2 mana. Equip 2, not bad. And legendary, again, Thor's hammer, you got to be worthy of it. So only legendary creatures can get its use. Ludin narrative synergy is a term. Wow, I'm not gonna remember that term at all, but I really like it. Thank you, Jackson. Actually, I'm gonna write it down here. Ludon narrative. Oh my god, why would it show a creepy doll at the first thing? Dissonance is a conflict between game's narrative told through the story and the narrative told through the gameplay. Interesting. I'll look it up later. All right, so overall, Terulf, I am very hyped for it. I really want to have damage doubling effects with it. You know what? I put it over here. I put it over here, friends. Top of the S tier. I just want to put it with damage doubling effects and just have some fun with it. It just seems nice. The backside I don't really care for, but like the flavor is nice. All right, final god time. All right, Valky, Lord of Lies. This is the legendary. This is Tybalt in disguise, which is really cool. 2 mana only. When Valky enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valky leaves the battlefield. That's a very powerful ability at the beginning. It's temporary, so it's only going to mess with your opponents for a short while, but it's very effective at disrupting your opponent's early game. And you might randomly get something good to transform Valky to with its X ability. X, choose target creature card, exile of Valky. With converted cost X, it becomes a copy of that card. That's pretty cool too. If you copy like a Titan or something like that, then you have attack triggers and stuff like that. Pretty nice. It is going to get a lot of salt because when you're exiling creature cards from your opponents, they're going to be very much inclined to get it back. So they're going to try to kill Valky very quickly. So that is the downside of it, but still pretty powerful ability. And then the second side is a Planeswalker, which is really cool. Hey, later turn left. Glad you stopped by. Wow. Speaking is getting very difficult this late. All right. Tybalt Cosmic Imposter is the backside. 7 mana Planeswalker. That is a whole bunch of Planeswalker mana. But when it enters the battlefield, you get an emblem immediately with you may play cards exile with Tybalt Cosmic Impulsor, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So what that means is basically these abilities are going to let you exile stuff. And the emblem says, like, even if this Planeswalker leaves the battlefield, you can still cast the spells exiled with Tybalt's abilities, which is nice because it's a 7 mana investment. If Tybalt gets murdered very, very quickly, you still get some value out of it, right? So Tybalt enters the battlefield for 7 mana, you immediately get that emblem, and you immediately get to use at least 2 of his abilities. The third one you probably won't be able to use unless you have some second card to allow you to get to 8 loyalty. But you can either +2 it to exile the top card of each player's library. And again, that means everybody loses the top card of their library that is exiled. That's usually 4 in a 3-player in a 4-player free-for-all game. So 4 cards are exiled, and remember, you can always play those cards. So this +2 ability is basically draw 4, right? 7 mana, draw 4, and it starts at 7 loyalty, so it's going to be pretty difficult for Tibalt to immediately die, or at least that's the hope. Or you can -3, exile target artifact or creature. And again, it's like exile -3, exile target artifact or creature, and you may play that creature afterwards, or artifact afterwards. And then -8 is exile all cards from all graveyards, add 3 mana, which is fine, I guess. Maybe it should have been a little bit more, but whatever. But you get all these cards in all graveyards now to play with for the rest of the game, which is also really good, and it's also graveyard hit, which is nice. So I like his abilities. 7 mana is still a lot, right? But like 7 mana, draw 4, potentially get more out of it, or 7 mana, exile an artifact or creature that's the biggest threat on the table, and you get to play that artifact or creature afterwards. Both those things are pretty solid, and clearly there's a requirement, or I don't even words. You play Valky early game, then you play Tibalt late game. I think that's nice. Both sides are kind of like a little bit on the weak side by themselves, but together they're pretty solid. It's pretty interesting as having him as commander. Although if Valky does, if you have Valky as your commander and you play Valky and then eventually Valky dies, casting Tibalt for 9 for the first time is kind of trash. So I think he's neat. I like his abilities, but I kind of wish the Tibalt side was a little bit cheaper, maybe 6 mana. Even 6 mana would have been a little bit more interesting. 7 mana at the beginning. 7 mana makes me feel bad for playing Valky, basically. If for some reason they had a weird like ruling where the Valky side does not contribute to the command tax of the Tibalt side, it would be so much better. But the way it is, I don't really like him as a commander, to be honest. Maybe as part of the 99. Maybe as part of the 99. But I like the design. I like that it's jam-packed with so much stuff. But man, does it cost so much mana. Man, I'll just put him in the decent side. He's decent. All right. And that will do it, friends. We actually got through all 33 commanders with me rambling for a very, very long time. So, yeah, that's it. That is my list. We can check it out a little bit, zoomed out a little bit, so we can see it all. We can see it all a little bit zoomed out here. That's how I have. I have most stuff is tied in the S tier and the decent tier, with some awesomes and very few cards that I would consider. The precons. Okay, fine. You got me, chat. You got me. I don't have them in the tier list though, and I'm way too lazy to figure that. All right. Okay. So Ranar the Ever-Watchful. Ranar, I did a video on the precon. Came out yesterday. So if you want like the full deets on him, my opinion on him, and how to upgrade the precon if you're interested in buying it or building a deck around Ranar, go check that out. Boost that algorithm. Much appreciated. But Ranar is an Azorius 4-mana 2/3 that is like the official leader of Foretell. Foretell is a mechanic that is only found in Kaldheim, so it has a small card pool, and it really needs kind of help to prop it up into being like something more competitive, more viable in a commander format where you're competing against people with much larger card pools for their archetypes and stuff like that. And he does a pretty decent job at it. And the main reason why he does a pretty decent job is this mana cost reduction. The first card you foretell each turn costs 0 mana to foretell. Foretelling is taking a card with foretell. You pay 2 colorless mana and you exile it with foretell. And then later you can cast that exiled card with foretell for its foretell cost, whatever it says on the card. It's a reduced cost, usually 2 reduced costs or something like that. Later on a future turn, not the same turn. So essentially what Ranar does, I think every single foretell card, foretelling any single card is 2 mana. I don't think there's any exceptions to the rule. I could be wrong though. But Ranar essentially says the first card you basically saves you 2 mana on the first card you foretell each turn. It says each turn, but also you can only foretell on your own turn. So generally speaking, by himself, Ranar is saving you 2 mana on each of your turns, which is okay for 4 mana. For a 4 mana in Azorius, pretty solid. Flying Vigilance 2/3, nothing to write home about. But he does have evasion and he can still block, so that's fine. And then the second part is whenever you exile one or more cards from your hand and or permanents from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So that is actually more open-ended. It works with Foretell because Foretell involves exiling card from your hand. So each time you foretell, you make a 1/1 spirit creature token, so it helps that out. But it also just helps out in general any sort of exiling effects. Night Silicus Ruin. If I messed it up, I'm sorry. So it works with like stuff like Banishing Light, where you're exiling a permanent. Any blink effects like Flicker Wisp, for example, where you're temporarily exiling a permanent and then returning it back to the battlefield, that still counts. So all those abilities actually do work with spirit creature tokens. And then as Gavin pointed out, Rest in Peace works well with Ranar too. Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace basically is a replacement effect. It says, if a card or token would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So I don't think it works with tokens. I don't think tokens are permanents. But anytime a card would go into the graveyard from anywhere you exile it. So I don't think it works with tokens. But basically, anytime a card would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, it's exiled instead. So anytime a card is exiled by Rest in Peace, you get a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying. So again, if anybody is cracking a fetch land at the table, those fetch lands are all tokens. Anytime somebody Doomblades a creature and it gets exiled instead of going to the graveyard, again you get a spirit token with flying. If there's a board wipe, then you only get one white spirit token, but you still get something, right? So there's a lot of power in that with Rest in Peace. Also, just a very powerful graveyard A. But as Gavin said, if you combine Ranar plus Blasting Station plus Rest in Peace, then you have an infinite combo where you can potentially, I think so. No, actually it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It works with tokens and Rest in Peace, but not other options. I don't, because if you're sacrificing a token with this, it won't make another thing with the token is a permanent. Are you sure? Tokens are definitely permanents? They are? Oh, okay. All right, I was wrong then. Oh, okay, so it works with all of that. So yeah, it does work. So yeah, anytime a token is exiled, you make a token. So yeah, Ranar plus Rest in Peace with Blasting Station would be like you sacrifice a token with Blasting Stations to deal 1 damage to any target. That creature gets exiled. Oh, only cards. Is this only card or permanent? Oh, okay. 1 or more cards. Oh, okay. That's why it doesn't work. Okay. Never mind. I got confuzzled. I am sorry. So this probably doesn't work. But anyway, the whole thing is cool. It's good. It's a good card. I also like that it supports Foretell. I like the idea of foretelling a bunch of cards for very cheap with Ranar's ability. Also, Ranar goes really well with Cosmos Charger. This is the only way that I know of that thematically works well with Ranar, because foretelling can only be done at sorcery speed on your turn, during your turn. But Cosmos Charger actually allows you to foretell on any player's turn. So paired with Ranar, well, Cosmos Charger already reduces the foretell cost to 1 instead of 2. But with Ranar on the battlefield, it costs 0 for the first one you cast each turn. So you could foretell a card on your turn for 0. Then on an opponent's turn with Cosma's Charger out, you can do it for 0 again. Then another opponent's, again, 0, again and again and again. It always works. So Rest in Peace was... Blasting Station works? It does? Tomer just gonna talk past it? Is it? I don't know, man. It works? Okay, it does work? Oh, boy. All right. So it does work? Man. Blasting Station. Okay. Chat has led you astray. It says permanent on the battlefield. Read the card, Tomer. It says card. Whenever you exile one or more cards from your hand and or permanents on the battlefield. Yeah, it's a permanent. A token is a permanent. Is it? Okay. The perms on the battlefield. So it does work, right? So you sacrifice a token with Blasting Station, dealing 1 damage to a creature. That token is exiled instead of going to the graveyard. So then Ranar triggers, makes a spirit token due to Rest in Peace. That makes a spirit token and untaps Blasting Station, and you can repeat it infinitely. Okay, we got there. Okay, so it does work. Okay, I got it. All right, it makes sense. I get it. Thank you, chat. That was enlightening. All right, so he does enable some infinite combos as well with Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace is just a good card. And he does a lot of cool things just in general. Foretell is also really good. Like, if you just foretell, like, a bunch of cards from your hand, you can run stuff like Windfall. It's also in the precon anyway, but stuff like Windfall where, like, you just immediately deplete your hand. You know, you run a bunch of ramp, so you a bunch of cheap mana rocks, 2 CMC mana rocks, Sol Ring and whatnot, and then you foretell away your hand, and then you Windfall. You have 0 cards in hand. Your opponents have more than 0 cards in hand, ideally. You Windfall. You disrupt their hands because they're probably keeping the good stuff in their hand still, and then you go back to 7 or whatever. Memory Jar is also really good too. Yeah. Memory Jar is also good too. Memory Jar, and then, like, foretell the stuff you find off Memory Jar. That's pretty solid. So Ranar, I like him. I would put him in S tier. He seems fun to play around. A lot of people are focusing on the Blink side of him, but I think the Blink side of him is kind of just it's kind of like a waste, I think. Like, Brago is in the 99, and you can supplement the Blink sub theme because Foretell, there's not a lot of Foretell cards, right? Like, it's hard to fill out a full deck with just the Foretell theme. So Blink is a nice way to kind of fill the deck out, but making it your primary focus, it would be more powerful than focusing on just Foretell. But at that point, if you're going for Blink, as Fen said, just run a Blink legendary. Like, Braga's just a better Blink commander. He's in the 99 of the precon, but he's better at blinking. So if you wanted to run a Blink deck, I would just swap Ranar out for Brago as a commander. So yeah, I don't really like having Blink as a primary focus, but as a supplemental focus, I think it's good. Also, like, a supplemental spirit focus is good, just like to fill the rest of the deck out. But I think there's enough cards that have Foretell that it makes it worth running. Sure, it definitely has a ceiling because there's just not a lot of cards beyond, the 5 or so you can add beyond the precon to the deck, but I think it's definitely worth it. And then maybe it might even be worth it to expand into, like, a partner pairing, for example, a 4-color partner pairing. If there's better Foretell cards in other colors that might help fill out the deck. I think Black has some really good Foretell cards. Maybe. Ranar does offer a lot of goodness in the command zone, though. So I like him a lot. And then the final one is Lathril. I just finished the article/video on that one. This is Elven Empire leader, Golgari Elfball. I think this is actually a really cool commander. Elf tribal, unlike, Foretell mechanic, elves have been a supported tribe since forever. So they have an enormous amount of cards that you can work for, or you could add to the deck. And the precon itself is really powerful right out of the gates. It knows what it wants to be. It wants to be an elf ball deck There are sub-themes to it, but they're all complementing Elf Ball. It's a very focused precon, and I think it's well done overall. No glaring complaints other than the lack of graveyard hate in the deck. But yeah, Lathril itself, pretty solid. 4 mana for 2 really powerful abilities. It's both a very efficient token generator. It deals combat damage. You create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. So it scales with her power. You start by only making 2, but if you pump her power or you give her double strike, you can scale up the amount of tokens that she generates each time. And she doubles as a finisher, so you don't actually have to go out of your way to add more finishers to the deck. Lathril does a pretty good job. You tap her and 10 untapped elves, so that's 11 elves total, I guess. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life, so that's a pretty easy way of actually winning the game. Fallen Ideal is pretty solid. That's the one that's like an enchantment that like you can sacrifice creatures to give her +2/+1 and such. I think that's pretty solid. You need to tap out 4 times to kill players. Well, so there's a lot of ways that we can actually untap all our stuff all at once. So I go over this in the article / video, but we have a lot of ways to actually untap all our elves, and a lot of elves actually have powerful tap abilities. So we have I think Timberwatch. There's Timberwatch Elf that works really well with Lathril. A target creature, you tap it to give target creature +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves on the battlefield. So you can pump up Lathril, which will make even more elves, and will make Timberwatch Elf even more insane. This is part of the precon itself, but there's like Elvish Archdruid too. There's a bunch of really powerful elves already in the precon that have powerful tap abilities. Again, like you tap to add green for each elf you control. That's insane. Also, it pumps Lathril and your other elves too. So in the upgrade part, I add stuff like Copperhorn Scout, which can untap each creature you control. Even Copperhorn Scout dies after 1 attack. It's still very much worth it. There's old one-shot spells like Vitalize that untap all creatures you control, which is good too. But there's also like Quest for Renewal is another one where like you just play a bunch of like cheap elves, quickly add up those quest counters. If you have 4 or more, you untap it on each untap step. If you can pay it, then Seedborn Muse is another one that's mass untap. Seedborn Muse, it's another mass untap. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of ways. Yeah. There's a lot of ways. Wirewood Symbiote, the insect one, it only untaps 1 and it requires you to bounce a creature, but it also definitely works too. I don't think Copperhead Scout is gonna budge in terms of my budget thingy, but there's a lot of things you can do with Lathril to really pump up her power. I don't know. I think adding black to the traditional elf ball is kind of fun. It adds a lot of other cards to the mix, and you can add like a sacrifice theme to it. It adds a lot of really cool elf thematic removal spells to it. There's a lot of drain effects that are in Golgari and black that kind of give the deck a little bit more oomph. Obviously, like the most expensive upgrade that I added to the $20 list is definitely Skull Clamp. Like, big surprise there. 1/1 token generators and Skull Clamp works really well. But there's other pretty sweet things you can do with her. Yeah, Wirewood Symbiotes is also in there. It's a buck, but it is definitely worth it. And it's also elf themed. So yeah, I think Lathril is pretty sweet. In terms of if I had to play an elf ball deck, I think I would run I think I would run Lathril in there. I don't know if she's like the most competitive of the bunch. There's probably others that are more combo-tastic than Lathril. But I like her because I like having access to black for the elf tribal deck. I think it adds a little bit more spice to the deck, and I like her. She's really cool. I would rate her highly. I would put her in like an S tier. Like, I don't really play elf ball that much, but if I had to play elf ball, I would play her over the other ones. just because she's more my speed, I think. But yeah, that will wrap it up, everybody. I was talking for almost 3 hours. My brain has like stopped functioning at this point in terms of being able to chat continuously for 3 hours. That took out more out of me than I expected it would. But yeah, thanks so much everyone for joining me on this ranking. We got through all the legendary creatures from Kaldheim, all ranked. Again, this list is not a power list. It's just me, what I'm most hyped for in terms of building around and building, like adding to my decks. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining and teaching me how to run the Ranar combo, because that went over my head for a long time. But yeah, thanks so much, everyone. I am going to be out for tonight, and tomorrow you'll see the Elven Empire Precon upgrade, if that's what you're into. And beyond that, there's going to be a lot of the Kaldheim article, Commander review articles are going to be out next as well, and all that good stuff. So yeah, later, everyone. See ya.